Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's show was recorded on April 12th, 2017. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, the newest member of the family.
Caffeine Rage. I'm not sure if I'm being adopted or what's going on here. I'm scared. I need an adult.
You got inducted tonight. On today's show, we will of course be discussing the games that we played, Gearbox and G2A get together and then break up. Popular gaming payment processor, Xsolla, has started adding a default 18% tip, allegedly. Germany wants to license 24-hour Twitch streamers. Microsoft has started offering refunds on the Xbox and Windows 10 store. AMD says that Fallout VR will be the Mario and Sonic the Hedgehog of virtual reality. We'll have our weekly community corner, which includes Kyle's Fonzie. Hey! And our weekly discovery queue. And timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. How are you today, Rage?
Doing alright. How are you? That's the thing.
I'm good today. I am swell. Astute listeners will notice that the date that I said is for Wednesday instead of Tuesday. I had something that came up Tuesday night that prevented us from recording. So here we are on a Wednesday. But I am fine. Everything is fine. I'm actually quite happy, as I told you. I've got my big boy desk chair, or my fat boy desk chair, and it is so nice. It's so comfy. The cushions on this thing are so huge, because, you know, they're for fat people. But this chair weighs like 1,000,000 pounds. It's all steel instead of plastic, like normal desk chairs, except for the armrests. Those are plastic, but the actual, like, the wheels and the assembly that has that and the cylinder on it for adjusting the height and everything, like all of that is steel. There's no plastic there. So the chair is sturdy, but it weighs probably 65 or 70 pounds. So thankfully it's a wheelie chair. But yeah, it's super comfortable. It is a bit taller than my old chair, so I'm kind of adjusting things. I had to make a makeshift monitor stand out of some books because my monitor was now a good 4 inches too low, and I was sitting at my desk chair earlier, like just staring down at my monitor, and I was like, yeah, this isn't gonna work. This is killing my neck. Because my thought was, well, we're moving soon. I'm gonna have to pack all this up, and I'll put something together for later. But no, I definitely need to buy a monitor stand. I would just mount my monitor directly to the wall, but the new office is those walls are brick, and I mean I could, but I don't really want to.
At least with that attitude.
So it's a little bit more work to drill holes and mount stuff into a brick wall than it is into sheetrock or into a stud in the wall. So
yeah, and we know Jared. He's not going to be doing that much effort.
Yeah, we know I'm lazy. Plus, I mean, the new house is fine. I mean, it needs some TLC and it's got a little bit of things that need to be fixed up. And I'm going to have to be doing that for a while, so I don't want to put any effort into fixing my office.
I had a thought, and I think I'm going to share this. You're just going to duct tape the monitor to the wall, aren't you?
Maybe. I might do that.
You'll spring for the Gorilla Tape.
Yeah.
Then just during a podcast recording, the monitor will get too warm, melt the adhesive, and it'll just fall.
You'll hear a massive thunk, and then, damn it. No, I might use books too. I don't know. I mean, I have them, like, I mean, it's not like, monitor stands are not very expensive.
Wait, books aren't very adhesive?
Oh, there's this thing that one of my friends used to have in college, and it was like a small bookshelf that you just hung to the wall. But the way it was designed, it looked like your books were just, like, sitting on the wall, like, somehow magically just attached to the wall. I would do that. That would be cool. But anyways, monitor stands are not very expensive, and I can just buy one, but we're about to move, and it's like, well, I mean, that's just one more thing that I'm going to have to pack up and take and unpack and packing. I haven't done very much of the packing. Katie and some friends did a bunch of packing today. I got home, and the house, like, it wasn't like a bomb had exploded, but there was stuff laying everywhere. It's like couldn't use the table or the counters or anything because there was stuff laying on them to be packed. So, yay. But I'll be excited when it's all over because we'll have a nice new house and I'll have a nice office and I won't be sitting in my living room anymore. And the big boy desk chair is a nice touch too. Oh, so games that we played?
Yeah, I guess we could talk about some video games on a video game podcast, huh?
Yep.
But I'm going to save the game that you really want to hear me talk about for second. Because I'm evil like that. Let's talk about the game that I spent some time with and found rather blah. Guardians of Ember.
Okay.
If you were to lock a fairly generic MMO and Diablo in a room together and with a lot of Viagra, because let's face it, the generic MMO is not that attractive, then I think you would end up with Guardians of Ember, because it wants to be Diablo, but it's a generic MMO with a Diablo camera and a few Diablo mechanics on it. It's set in your typical fantasy world. I'll be perfectly honest, I did not get past the opening area because it doesn't handle all that well. But anyway, it has its typical fantasy races. You have human, you have elf, you have dwarf, and then you have 9-year-old.
Really?
Or whatever the fourth race that they're calling it. I'll be perfectly honest. I was looking at the character creation screen and I was clicking through the races. It's like, that looks like a fucking 9-year-old. Well, not literally a fucking 9-year-old, because, well, that's would be banned in a lot of
I'm gonna have to report you to Child Protective Services now. I'm a mandatory reporter, Rage, as a therapist, just so you're aware.
Well, all right. Well, moving quickly along from Guardians of Ember, then. I need to talk about this because
I will say before you go any further, like even before you started talking, when this opened up, I was like, this looks like a super generic version of Diablo.
Yeah,
it looks like a lot of the menus and stuff are just copied wholesale from Diablo.
This is not a Diablo. This wants to be Diablo. One day when it leaves early access, it aspires to try to be Diablo, but it's a shitty MMO. One thing that is huge about ARPG is movement. Being able to have a smooth movement, no matter if you do it via click interface or with the WADS keys like this does, it comes down to how well you can move around things. It seems like everything, the hit detection and the hitboxes for the geometry of the world is just ever so slightly off. So you're constantly running to these little corners, these little invisible walls, like trying to move around a boulder. You'll hit an invisible wall trying to go around it. And the fact that this is late early access? No. Just no. And that doesn't even get to the fact that I think they never played an ARPG. Now, granted, I'll be the first one to admit, I'm not an expert in ARPGs. I played, I think, 4 or 5 of them at this point. But
okay,
they have leashing in this game. MMO-style leashing, where if you draw an mob too far away from its spawn point, it basically becomes invulnerable and then runs back. Yeah, like, oh shit, I'm out of position, and runs back. I've had enemies that were on my screen. I shot at them. They started to run to me, got past their leashing point, went back to full health, and then ran back to their spawn point.
So you could fire on them.
I could see them. Fire on them beyond their leashing point. That seems a little shitty to me.
Yeah, that kind of defeats the purpose of a ranged character.
That kind of defeats the purpose of having it be a damn ARPG, because a lot about ARPGs is movement. It's the A in ARPG, action. Can you tell I didn't like this game?
It's difficult.
Or
I don't know, maybe.
Or how about this? The character I ended up playing, I made a dwarven engineer because, dwarves.
Right.
You start off with a gun, because dwarves. Pretty soon in the game, I picked up a bow, and all my abilities were talking about, a gunplay, or shooting a bullet, that sort of thing. And I said, I'll try the bow. It says it's a lot better damage, a lot better for me. And maybe it would lock out some of my abilities, but there's enough on to try to swap out. And also, you cannot unlock your last couple of action bars slots yet in the early access version of this. You only have access to 4 of the 6, which is also very shitty, I might add. But okay, my dwarf picks up the bow. Didn't unlock or didn't lock out any of my skills. That's weird. I shoot at something. It makes a gun noise.
Oh, nice.
I mean, outside of the dwarf making the noise with his mouth, he's just going there going bang, bang, bang as he's shooting arrows. This seems a little off. Now, granted, they do talk about having dual classes, and the fact that, it's practically impossible, or at least in the starting area, to be able to be a ranged class, because ranged classes typically are a lot squishier than melee classes, so having to try to dance around the spawn points of everything to stay in range and stay in the leashing distance of the spawn, so things don't instantly go full health. And it makes it so that you take a lot more damage than you otherwise would be. On top of, all the collision issues I had with this game to begin with. It's just, what the fuck was this developer thinking?
I want to be Diablo hardcore.
Well, just I'm on the store page and I'm looking at just the string of not recommended, and I wholeheartedly agree.
I mean, this isn't, these aren't my types of games.
Yeah, I've realized that this is definitely not your
This looks so game. Generic and whatever. I'm just like, okay, that's cool. Maybe somebody will like it, but probably not me. If it was like a free-to-play game, I'd probably check it out, because, I do, even though it is pretty generic,
I think it's going to go free-to-play, maybe? Hang on, I need to actually check on that, because, no, it doesn't mention that. And here's the thing, is that, they talk about, having the community do a lot of stuff together, and there's nobody fucking playing this game. I saw 2 people in the opening area. 2. And one of them was just there fishing, and they had godlike armor, or at least it looked like godlike armor, because this is a fantasy game, so as soon as you get to the upper tier stuff, you start having this.
You get massive pauldrons.
Yeah, massive pauldrons, wings, oars coming off of you like you're in the first Star Trek movie.
Nice.
But wasn't a fan of this. And that's the thing. I went into this with an open mind, and just look at the screenshots. It doesn't look that bad. Generic, yes, but the thing is that these are very static screenshots, and they don't show the interface in any of them. The only place you see the interface is in the trailers. So I was thinking, who knows? Maybe this could be like Victor Vron, where at least the first half of that game I really enjoyed it till I stopped getting upgrades. So I started running into the brick wall of enemies. Enemies getting a lot stronger, and I'm not getting any stronger.
Yeah. Like you said, super generic, but not bad. Like if it was free to play, I might be tempted to check it out just because.
It's one of those that you could definitely tell the developers. Well, the developers aren't great at design because there's some weird things. Well, let's use the character creator as a good example of this. Okay, you pick your race, then you pick your gender, and if you want to swap the gender, let's say I think the default is male. Let's say you wanted to be a female dwarf. Oh, sorry, you can't be. Let's say you wanted to be a female elf, but then again, I repeat myself. Pause for laughter.
Tee.
If you wanted to be a female character, you have to pick your race, then pick your gender, then go back to your race and select the race that you actually wanted to play. That gives you an idea of, all the weird little things that just kind of is annoyances.
Yeah, that's bad design.
Yeah, that should be one step. There's no randomization on character names, and there's no copy and paste, or at least I couldn't get copy and paste to work on the character names. So if I didn't want to, just smash the keyboard or come up with, alternate spelling of Grimly or one of the dwarves out of The Hobbit, and go into a random generator online, it's, I had to type it in manually. Once again, just the little things. But then again, when they have the big things so fucked up, the little things are kind of expected at this point.
Indeed. Okay, well, let's go talk about the game that I actually want to hear you talk about.
Yes, the Sunday sampler for this week, Domina. Oh, Domina. This is a very, very flawed game, but a game that I'm actually able to look past some of the flaws. Some of the flaws, not all of them.
Holy crap, is the second coming of Christ around the corner?
Hey, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of things to complain about this game. Primarily the save system. Oh, wait, there is none. Okay, moving right along.
Well, technically, though, you do have a problem with the save system. The problem is there isn't one.
Well, there is a rudimentary save system in place now that if the game crashes, it does a save. But, it's one of those things that you don't want to test out.
Right.
The game itself, think of it, well, a lot of people are classifying it as a roguelike, which is entirely wrong, but I see the principle of the thing. It's sort of the FTL problem where there's not really a way to classify it, and FTL is also a really good analog for other reasons I'll get to in a little bit. Where you have events pop up, you have different fights that you have to do that you can or cannot control depending on your research that you do, because you can treat it like a fighting game, but the thing is that so many fights are multi-gladiator, 2 or more on each side, that I just end up having it as purely a management game with the AI controlling everything.
Yeah.
But the problem is that it's very, very basic on that section, where, okay, you could train up the AI skill, which is just a terrible name for it, by the way.
AI skill?
Yeah, that's literally what they call it in the game.
Okay.
You could train that up so that they're a smarter fighter, but it doesn't really tell you, how that helps. It's more, okay, now, is my guy fighting better because he has a certain skill? Or is it just, random chance, confirmation bias almost. But it's one of those things that, it doesn't really tell you all that much. It tells you what makes him a better fighter, but when you're not controlling them, but nothing else. There's not a lot of information about it. It's all a lot of, try this. Oh, that didn't work out all that well. Well, we'll try a different way on the next run. And each run takes hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on how many fights you pick, because you have a counter that every week or every 2 weeks, depending on just how lucky or unlucky you are, a fight will happen that's sponsored by one of the two major players in the city, the magistrate or the legate. And depending on how much each one of those guys like you, those fights could be either really easy and really generous on their rewards, or try to dick you over as hard as they can. If you pick a fight with both of them and have them absolutely hate you, those fights will be brutally unfair and have just a pittance for rewards. Which there is a way to go into the pits, to a pit fight, essentially underground fights. But those give you a lot less information to try to figure out. So you're just blindly throwing gladiators in and hoping, well, I hope this guy have spent 500 gold coins on and the last half hour's worth of training doesn't die horribly. So there's a lot of systems that you have to try to juggle. I almost want to call it a clicker game because there's just so much that you have to keep track of. And if you're not watching, your employees have a tracker bar on them. You have to keep track of that. And if they're not researching their things, then you're losing out there. You're a researcher. If you're not keeping up on that, you're losing out there. If you don't have someone that automatically heals, you have to go through for each gladiator and pay to have them healed. And you're losing out there if you don't, because your gladiators are injured and that pisses them off and then they want to leave you. But there is tools that if you pick the right employees, it takes a lot of this burden off of you. But that also locks you into a particular play style, which I kind of dislike. But at the same time, I kind of understand that, if you want a more advanced or a more powerful group of gladiators, you pick a different employee and take on a lot more burden yourself.
Right. Okay. So, the save system thing is like a no-go. That pretty much
is, that's very, very tough to get past. I fully agree. It's one of those things that Domina would be a game that I would love to have where I would pick it up, play for a little bit, and put it back down. But the thing is that in order to play through this, you have to go through an hour and a half, 2 hours of gameplay. And there is, at the time of recording, no way around that. That is a huge no-go. And just terrible design. Just absolutely terrible. Completely inexcusable.
Yeah. But if let's say that they fix it, or, it wasn't an issue in the first place, that they actually weren't morons and put a save system in for the beginning. This game just, on first glance, it looks so interesting. Like, there are so few good gladiator games anymore. But
that's the thing. I am, absolutely railing on this game because of how ambiguous it can be, but if you're going into this and treating it almost like the roguelite, that a lot of people are calling it, where it's, the mystery is trying to figure it out and toy around with different systems. Finding out, okay, training up my gladiators till they have about a 60, 65 AI skill, then bringing them down and letting them train up their other skills works a lot better than training them up to 100 because they're a lot stronger fighters, even if they're a little bit dumber. And the thing is that AI skill also gains as they fight, so if they win or if they survive a battle, they get a little bit AI skill as well. Because, that's... they should have called that combat prowess, or, something like that.
Yeah. I guess, have you ever played Gladius?
No, I hadn't.
It's an older gladiator game. It was in, the early 2000s. It was on original Xbox, PS2, might have been on GameCube. But I guess I was really hoping that this would be Gladius, which Gladius was a turn-based, or something like it, a turn-based gladiator-style game, and you trained up your gladiators, and you could outfit them and train them, and there were different classes, and you could get animals as well to fight on your team, like tigers.
You can get an animal on this. It's part of a random event, though, and the thing is that it's essentially a gladiator that you can't heal. So I usually just, if I have Raymond the Ludus to support it, I'll take it into the pit fights and get a few quick bucks out of it, and that's about it, because the line could turn on you.
Oh, fun.
And also,
I guess I should.
And also, there's obstacles that also you could encounter where there may be lines in the arena, and if your guy rolls too close to him, the line could break its chain and maul you. And the lines are pretty much instant death, and unless your guy is very, very well armored.
Yeah, maybe I should just get an emulator of Gladius. Like, I actually used to play lots of different Gladiator games, like the Colosseum series. I played that. I'm not sure how many games on the Colosseum series. I remember playing a few. Then there's the Gladiator series, which I think was on PSP and PlayStation 2 that I've played. Like, I just had this point in time in my life where I was really fascinated with gladiatorial stuff. But
you watched Spartacus, Blood, Sand, and Saul. The dicks is like, oh yeah.
Spartacus and wasn't the movie just called Gladiator?
Yep.
Yeah, Gladiator. Like, I saw those and it was like, oh wow, this is really cool. Are there games?
Okay,
for this?
okay,
Yes, there are. I should play them.
I'm gonna sell this game to you.
Okay.
One of the opening pieces of leg armor that you get is called a cock sheath.
Nice.
And there's actually a couple different types of cock sheath. You could get a large black leather studded cock sheath.
Yes. All right. That still, though, doesn't make up for the lack of the save system. So, if they fix that, I probably will buy this game. But I'm not going to buy it without a save system.
For me, it mostly makes up for it. Well, the music of this game is fucking awesome. I mean, just amazingly well done. And that is probably the highlight for me, is the music.
Mm-hmm.
Just that. And also, it has Twitch integration, which I've watched a few streams of this. I watched, well, not just TB play it before I played it, which kind of gave me a lot of my impressions on it to begin with.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is seeing, what certain things do and what certain things don't do. But also toying around with it, it allowed me to refine some feelings on this game. But the Twitch integration is really neat, where it could make the Twitch chat basically the crowd in the gladiatorial games, where people will be able to cheer or boo to affect just how much money you get. And also, if a gladiator surrenders, which is a possibility pretty early in the game, the Twitch chat decides if they live or die.
Why? Then they just all die, right?
Actually,
all the time?
No. Sometimes they live. It really depends on how generous the Twitch chat is. And also, if with Twitch integration in, it uses the chat names for the gladiatorial names. So
Interesting.
So watching TB, Moobot became his nemesis, essentially. Because he kept coming up against this really strong gladiator named after the moderator bot that he uses, called Moobot.
That's funny.
It was amazing. And just watching everybody cheer for whoever was trying to fight Moobot, and then whenever they surrendered, sometimes they were merciful, sometimes they weren't. But it was it's one of those games that the Twitch integration is done really, really well. But should I talk about my biggest pet peeve with this game?
All right.
Because I haven't gotten to that yet. It pulls the FTL bullshit of a massive difficulty spike at the end.
Oh.
But it's not just that. I mean, that I could understand. That's pretty much standard now with this type of game. The sort of the roguelite, with other elements, having a massive boss at the end of whatever journey or timer or whatever. That's pretty much just bog standard at this point. That's not what really pissed me off. What really pissed me off with this game, and I'm not going to spoil, or should I spoil this or should I not?
You can. It's okay.
Okay. If you want to have the ending of this not spoiled for you, skip, I would say, probably about the next 10 minutes.
Okay.
My biggest problem with this game is that it actually breaks the theme of the game for its ending. The ending of this game is that okay, you go off to the championship. In order to get to the championship, you have to fight at least 3 regional qualifiers, and these are some really tough fights, by the way. So you have to have some really strong fighters. When you get back from the regional championship and you get all the money and everything to essentially save your Ludus, because you inherit this Ludus and you have a year to essentially turn it around. That's your timer. Essentially think of it as the FTL journey, getting to the end boss and beating the end boss. It has an epilogue fight. The epilogue fight is the magistrate, the legate, sniffed out an assassination plot against him that was cooked up by this other god that you'd never encounter from a neighboring Ludus to implement you and try to get you killed because you're a woman in ancient Rome. So you're thrown into the combat arena, as in your character, not your gladiators, you, against, I think, something like 10 or 12 other gladiators, which is pretty much one of the major fights. Yeah, one of the major clusterfuck fights is they'll have essentially the entire Ludus versus another entire Ludus. Well, every prisoner that you set free, and you see where we're going with this, with breaking the theme, comes into your aid. So in order to even stand a fucking chance in this fight, you have to set free before the end battle, I might add, which is insanely tough, some of your better, if not best fighters, to even have a chance to win the game, which just completely breaks the theme of it.
Yeah. That's dumb.
Yeah.
That's real dumb.
Yeah, that's, like I said, that completely breaks the theme of it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that I got to it, it's like, wait, really? And then I went and started poking around the forums to see, okay, this is surely not how it is. And I didn't talk about this in the video because I didn't want to ruin the ending in a first impressions video. But I did mention that, yeah, it completely breaks the theme, and this is exactly what I mean. The idea of it is that you are a slave master, a Domina. And, first of all, okay, why are all these gladiators coming to your rescue if you set them free? They should have, gone on with their lives. If, assuming that, they didn't get picked up by somebody else. But that's beside the point. That it's just so weird. It's like the developer got to the ending and thought that it felt anticlimactic almost, and had this epilogue fight, which makes very little sense.
Yeah. That just,
I mean, it doesn't kill it for me.
Sucks.
It is a good management game, but it's one of those things that, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I may have not gone on quite as long as I thought I would, but yeah, I'm just really disappointed with how they decided to end it. And the fact that it's one of those games that has the, hugely massive boss fight to begin with, because it's just, can we stop doing this?
Stop doing what exactly?
These essentially brick wall boss fights at the end of management or roguelite games. It just makes really little sense to have this absolutely massive fight. Or I should say this massive difficulty spike. Having a massive fight is one thing. Having a massive difficulty spike is another. Because that's what really turns me off of FTL, is that it really forces you to play one, maybe 2 ways in order to get the final boss down. And if you don't, you're pretty much screwed whenever you come up against that fight.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the correlation between FTL and Domina is very apt, because it suffers from the same exact problem. Only it's one of those things that it would be like FTL, every merchant that you visited and sold them 1 fuel shows up to help you. Yeah, something weird like that.
Yeah. because that does go against the one of the points of FTL. It's like you got to get across the galaxy, so you got to get fuel. And sometimes you wind up in a situation where you've just got to like sell off stuff that you would need to get fuel to keep going. So, yeah, that would be stupid, selling fuel to get people to come help you in the infight. By the way, while we were sitting here talking about this, I downloaded Gladius, a ROM for PS2, because my PS2 emulator is the only thing that I have up right now. So,
I'm sure you have other things up right now.
Hey-o.
It's kind of funny in the background during this entire thing, well, at least during the last part of this, the film score for Gladiator came on my Pandora channel.
Oh, nice. Good timing. Good timing, Pandora. Okie dokie. Well, that means it's my turn to talk about games.
Yeah, and sorry if I turned you off on Domina.
I don't know. I'm not sure anymore. I mean, the whole safe thing, like, I wasn't going to buy it if they didn't fix it anyways, regardless of how good or bad it sounded. But, I mean, you know, I'm undecided now. I was, like, all for it, but now I'm kind of not sure. And honestly, like, I mean, if you turn me off, then that just means that you saved me from spending some money on something that
I know that you're excited about. That's the thing.
That's okay. I mean, I'm a big boy.
You have the big boy chair now.
That's right. I got my big boy chair. Which, like, I'm so, like, chilled and just reclining right now. It's great. Okie dokie. So, games I played this week. I've been playing some more Fallout 4. And I have some Tales from the Wasteland. I found something really cool, but it is a side quest. So I know that you don't want spoilers. And before I tell the tale, do you care to hear like side quest spoilers, or do you want me to?
Yeah, you can if you really want to.
I can also mute Skype, and then you can't hear me, and I can tell the story real quick and then unmute.
I mean, how big a spoiler is this? I mean, is this hugely massive?
It's in no way connected to the main story, and I don't think it's I mean, it's like a neat thing. Man. It's more like a little reward. Like, if you've played Fallout for a long time, this is like a little reward for someone who's a long-time Fallout player. Okay, so just continuing to explore the wasteland. The only quests that I've completed are just like accidentally stumbling upon like a settler, one of the settlement quests, and I complete it. I've actually had that happen a couple of times, which I think is neat, that those quests are already in place, and if you complete them by accident, you find out later, it's like, oh, would you please save us from these people, or would you recover this thing for us? It's like, oh, you mean this thing right here? And they're like, yeah, you
and you hold up the disinterred head.
Yeah. But I've done a couple of those. One of them was like, this guy like wanted his family heirloom back, and I picked it up, and I was like, oh, this is junk. I'll just use this to build something. And he was like, oh, I want my family heirloom. Can you please go recover it, and we'll join you? And I was like, this family heirloom? He was like, well, yes, that's it. So I thought that was pretty neat. I've done that a couple of times. But anyways,
now how many battle caps do you have?
A lot.
No, I mean the guy that wants his heirloom back.
Oh, the guy who wants his heirloom back, yeah. I usually don't. I mean, I don't like press people for extra money. I take whatever
I'm the
rewards
one
they
that
give.
will look at the dying person's inventory, and it's like, okay, so what do you have to sell?
You do that. No, I don't. I don't do that. It's just difference in play styles.
Plus, it's funny.
It is funny. But anyway, so I was just exploring, and since it's set in the Boston area, there's the harbor there.
Boston?
And, Boston. Fall Harbor. I wandered up, and there's this kid, like, standing there on the dock, and he, like, excitedly, like, calls you over, and he's like, there's a sea monster, and you're like, what are you talking about, kid? Like, sea monsters aren't real, but, I mean, it's Fallout. There's, like, giant crabs and crap everywhere, so sea monsters could totally be real. But anyways, like, you ran on this kid's parade, and he's like, no, look, you can see there's its eye. And if you look out in the bay, you can actually see something that looks like an eye moving around. And he's like, oh, you should go fight it and kill it. And then he, like, a quest pops up. It's like, go check out the sea monster. So I swam out into the bay, and it's actually a Chinese submarine. And you can go inside, and the captain of the submarine is a ghoul. So he's been around since the bombs, or since the nuclear war.
So a quick question, is it a yellow submarine?
No, that would have been amazing, though. But You can choose to do a few different things. Like I saved because there were some interesting conversation options. Like I just backed out of the conversation and saved, and like you can be all racist against him and call him a bunch of bad names and then fight him and kill him and take his stuff.
Then it becomes a yellow submarine.
Or you can he has a quest and you can complete this quest for him to basically fix his submarine so that he can sail back to China and see what's left of his homeland, because he knows that the United States also nuked China, and in the Fallout storyline, the United States was invading mainland China, and that's what triggered them to decide to go ahead and nuke the U.S. And I just thought that was really cool. Like, here's a submarine with a Chinese character who also was around before the war, and in Fallout 4, your character served in the army.
Dude, spoilers. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Okay, but it's like from one army person to another, and you can talk to him about some pre-war stuff, and it's just a really neat little quest line. He has you go hunt some things to repair his sub, and you have to fix the reactor, and you can sabotage the reactor so that the sub blows up, or you can mess that up and blow up the sub with you still on it. But if you complete the quest all the way, he thanks you for showing that humans can be better than they once were and all that sort of stuff. And then he gives you this homing beacon that you can use to call in tactical nuclear strikes, because apparently he still has a whole bunch of nukes on board that he didn't use.
And he doesn't have anything else better to do right now.
He's like, yeah, I'm going to sail back to China, but I'll be here for a little while. If I'm still in the area, just call this in and I'll send in a tactical nuke. And it's like, all right, I'll call in a tactical nuke. But I just thought that was a really neat quest line that I felt like was a good reward for people who had played previous Fallout games.
Now I'm just thinking, what was it? The X Finder in New Vegas. Essentially the same idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
just love stuff
that was
like
a fun little gadget. Granted, a little scary that a kid was running around with it.
Yeah.
Good thing the safety was on. Because can you imagine power up the attack satellite? That kid pulls the trigger and suddenly New Vegas goes up.
Yeah.
I want that to be a mod. If you don't have the Eludes X Finder, I think it was. That's the name of it. I know it's essentially finding the range. It's a rangefinder essentially. If you don't have that and you power up that attack satellite, just New Vegas goes boom. I'm an evil person, what can I say?
Yeah. So I thought that was a neat quest. That's about the only thing interesting I found. I have like a cajillion bits of junk because I'm using a mod that all the junk doesn't have any weight. So I have practically an infinite supply of crafting materials. And I got like 4 or 5 levels by building my towns and my settlements up. So that was what I spent my time in Fallout doing, other than discovering this random quest line. But beyond that, the other games that I played this week, and I'm kind of, 2 of them are kind of lumped together, and one of them is similar. The Sanctum games, Sanctum 1, 2, and Super Sanctum Tower Defense. So the Sanctum series, the first 2 at least, are first-person tower defense games. So you play just one of the characters that they have, and you can choose your weapons and whatnot. And you're building the tower defense maze on the fly, and fighting in first person to help defend your power core and all that stuff. And the main reason that I played these games was King's birthday was over the weekend. And when he was born, the games that I played in the hospital while we were waiting to bring him home were the Sanctum games. And I got to thinking about it, and I was like, it's been years. Like, that was the last time I played all 3 of these games, was when he was born. Because I played through the story of Sanctum 1. Or, not this. I mean, there is sort of a story there, but it's just very, just some levels laid out, pretty much, with a very generic, like, we're fighting the aliens sort of thing. And I can't remember how many levels there are, because I didn't beat it this time, but it's not many. You can beat it in a few hours. Sanctum 2 has got a much longer story campaign with like little cutscenes and things like that. It's a much more developed game, but I mean, it's the same basic principle. But But anyways, I just sat down and played these games for a couple hours each. Just like, I was playing this game 3 years ago on my laptop with like this really crappy Logitech controller because I had forgotten to bring my mouse. And I mean, there's no way I can play a shooter with a touchpad. But I happen to have like this
At least
$10.
with that attitude.
I mean, some people can. I can't. I don't have that talent. But I had like this $10 Logitech controller at the time for playing RPGs. And it was like, it looked like a PS2 controller, but it had the exact button layout of an Xbox 360 controller. So I'm not sure how they didn't get sued for that. But, I mean, it was a decent enough little controller. But anyways, so I played it with that, and it was quite bad to control because FPS games on PC playing with controller is no good.
Well, usually PC games don't have the auto aim needed.
Yeah, and there might be a way to turn it on that I didn't notice at the time, but I didn't have auto aim, so it was very difficult. I mostly focused on the towers for completing levels. But the Sanctum games are a lot of fun. I mean, there have been tower defense games since that have done this and probably better, but at the time, I think that Sanctum was one of the first, if not the first tower defense game to drop you down into the first person and allowed you to actively fight against the horde that was coming in and do a lot with building the maze yourself to make it as complicated and elaborate as possible to slow them down. So, they're fun games. They also have a pretty big emphasis on co-op. Sanctum 1 can pretty well be played start to finish single player. Sanctum 2, though, the difficulty, the farther you go, it just becomes more and more difficult to beat it by yourself. Because the other players that play get their own set of blocks and amount of turrets that they can build and stuff like that, and they earn currency. Everyone earns the same amount of currency. So in the early game, 3 or 4 players can just destroy everything, and then by the end, it's a pretty fair fight if you've got additional co-op partners. So I'm sure it's possible to beat it in single player, but I'm not good enough to do that.
Yeah,
I haven't put enough time into it.
Yeah, I have the Sanctum games, so I just never really put the time into them. And honestly, the maze style tower defense games just don't interest me. I'm not sure why that is. It's just I prefer the tower defense games that you really can't maze, and it comes out to almost like a puzzle game where you have to figure out what combinations work well.
Yeah. I like a little bit of both. I'm drawing a blank on the tower defense game that I'm trying to think of.
Defense Grid?
Defense Grid. I love Defense Grid because Defense Grid has elements of both. I mean, in the beginning, it's all linear and very little pathing that you can do.
Yeah, later on when
end,
it becomes more, building the maze, that's when I don't like Defense Grid nearly as much.
Yeah, but, I mean, I think Defense Grid is my favorite tower defense game of all time. But still, Sanctum 1 and 2 are both excellent, fun games. And I played Sanctum 2 originally on Xbox 360 several years ago. I got it, I think, as a review copy when I was still writing game reviews and never got around to reviewing it because I was wrapping up college at the time and I didn't have as much time.
Pretty sure I got mine out of the Humble Bundle or somewhere like that.
Yeah. I wonder how many people of our friends have it.
A lot.
Maybe we should play, because Sanctum and Sanctum 2 both have 4-player co-op. That would be a fun stream night, I think. Yeah, Sanctum 2, 9 friends. Who owns this game? Stupid. I'm signed in. Why are you telling me I have to sign in? You're already showing me all my stuff signed in. One moment. As I type in the...
Also, that's your password.
2-factor authentication code.
No, you forgot. No. You have to hit space twice, remember?
Right. Let's see. Do you have... Yeah, you have Sanctum 2 and you've played it.
Yeah, an hour.
Supe has it.
Supe!
Jim has it. Your uncle. So yeah, a few of us have it. Let's see if more people have Sanctum 1.
And welcome to the library checking portion of the podcast.
Yeah. There's very few differences between Sanctum 1 and 2, aside from Sanctum 2 having a little bit more of a story focus. And the characters are each a little more distinct. I mean, you can pick from different weapons and characters in both games, but characters in Sanctum 2 get bonuses for certain weapons and things like that. So you can
it's sort of the reverse
more.
Borderlands, where the weapons that you picked mattered in Borderlands 1. Borderlands 2, pick over what the fuck you want.
Yeah, in Sanctum 1, you can just pick whatever weapon works best for you, or is going to fit. Because, I mean, certain weapons are better against certain enemy types, and so it might be prudent to take a certain weapon for a certain map. But and in Sanctum 2, there's also some RPG elements where that you can level up the specific characters to get bonuses for, weapons and turrets and stuff like that. So, it's got a lot more of an RPG feel to it. But otherwise, I mean, the gameplay and everything is identical. And they look pretty identical as well. They're probably built in the same engine. It's about the same amount of people who have Sanctum 1 and 2. But if it comes up on a good sale, I might buy a couple of copies and pass them out to our friends. And we can all play some good old first-person tower defense. And then Super Sanctum Tower Defense, which I haven't talked about yet, is a kind of an 8-bit pixel arty style tower defense game, and it's a classic tower defense game where all you're doing is building towers. And it also has a huge focus on the maze aspect, but not quite so much, at least for as far as I've gotten. I haven't gotten as far in it. But, I mean, it's just kind of your classic tower defense game, so there's not a ton else to say about it other than, I mean, everything's themed like the other Sanctum games. So, it's fun. It's a lot cheaper, too. It's like, I think it's $4. It's like 100 megabytes or something like that, and it'll run on a potato. So if you do want a tower defense game, if you do want to play a tower defense game and you haven't played one in a while, I would say check it out. It's a solid one, but I mean, there's nothing really too special about it. It's just a solid game. If you have played the other Sanctum games previously, you'd probably be a little bit more interested in it just because of the cohesion of the theme and everything. But I mean, it's not all that special.
Now, does the ending break the theme?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But yep, that's all the games I played this week. Plus, how many of our friends have them? So, are you ready to move on to our first news topic?
I think so. What, you don't need to hit the elevator?
I'm good right now. I'm
surprised.
I haven't drank very much of either of my beverages, actually.
Oh, well, let's get into the deep into things then. Oh, boy.
Yeah. We started recording early tonight, so I'm not, like, downing caffeinated beverages to give myself a little boost yet. I got maybe another hour before that happens.
Oh, my. So, the slap fight between Gearbox and G2A.
Yeah, so we're really glad, actually, that we missed this last week. Like, I think this happened on recording night.
Yeah, this was happening right as we started recording. A lot of this stuff started to come out, and part of me wishes that I got that large rant in, because I'll be perfectly honest, I don't have a lot of love for Gearbox. And that's not just because I got burnt out on Borderlands. It's the fact that they haven't really done a good game since Borderlands 2. And yes, I am including Bulletstorm's re-release on that.
Have you, just a quick aside, have you played Bulletstorm before?
No, I didn't get to play Bulletstorm.
Okay.
Because I avoided it like the plague due to Games Show Does Live, and can't play the old version now because they removed it from Steam. Because Gearbox, they are a bunch of dicks. So, it's more just the enemy of my enemy.
Right.
Watching these two fight was quite glorious, I might add.
I've played Bulletstorm. I had it for Xbox 360 several years ago. It's a really fun FPS that doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's got good, solid gameplay mechanics, like really good FPS gameplay mechanics. I think on par with Wolfenstein. But, I mean, it's got some bad parts to it, too. It's not like a perfect game. It's just a good, solid, offline, single-player first-person shooter.
From what I could see, it's a good game that, if you don't mind, something that's just utterly brainless.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. The humor's all right the first time through. A lot of it's super crude and not well thought out.
Which is probably the perfect reason why Duke is involved in the re-release.
Yeah. We'll talk about that, though.
Yeah.
So do you want to just give kind of a general overview of
let's
what
do
happened?
The general overview of things, and we'll start breaking things down. Basically, Gearbox decided that they wanted to get in bed with the devil and release the collector's edition of, the fully loaded version or whatever, of Bulletstorm through distribute through G2A, a key reseller. As a matter of fact, the biggest of the key resellers. Right?
Yep. Kind of the entry level key reseller.
Yeah,
like
then
the one that everybody knows about.
Then Total Biscuit sees this,
Gearbox.
Announces a boycott of Gearbox. Gearbox calls Total Biscuit. It's like, what's up, dude? Why mad, bro?
Why you mad, bro?
Because I guess they didn't use Google when they were signing this business deal, because it's utterly ridiculous that they don't know who G2A is and the reputation that this company has. And there's no excuse.
No.
So, Total Biscuit and Gearbox have a little talk. Gearbox lays down an ultimatum of, 4 points that G2A had to adhere to keep the business deal?
Yep.
G2A pulls a Hello Games and goes radio silent. Gearbox pulls out of the deal. Then G2A decides, let's not let this die, and starts owing some mud. Oh boy.
Yep.
I'm not sure there's not enough popcorn in the world for this story, to be perfectly honest. Only if Sean Murray or Peter Molyneux was in the middle of this as well. That's the only way that would be better.
Yeah. More laughable. So...
where do we even start with this? Because this is one of those that you look at just the train wreck the story is. And
so... Sorry, go ahead.
And from any angle, you just see more mangled bodies. And I have no idea where to even approach this from.
Well, I want to start a point that I want to make, and then maybe we can just work our way through the points. But so about the whole Gearbox didn't know about G2A
Bullshit.
Or whatever. I think, and I'm not making an excuse, but I think what happened there is that the people who know stuff were not the people who made the decision. The people who controlled the money were the people who made the decision. And so probably people on the dev teams.
Yeah, I could see that where the suits were the ones that then essentially the investors were the ones that I was like, oh, this seems like a really great business deal, and they don't bother. But the thing is that there's no way that Gearbox didn't have some inkling what they were getting into.
Yeah, and I mean that's not an excuse. I'm not excusing their behavior, but
they may have had
pressure.
What happened there. They may have been pressured into this, but them saying that, oh, we had no idea. Bullshit. Fucking bullshit. Own up to your fucking mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, they should. They won't, but they should. I do want to commend them. But then again,
this is Gearbox. They're not going to own up to their mistakes. Gearbox is a company that is fucking shady to begin with. And this was a part of the rant that I was wanting to do last week after seeing that I missed this, is that Gearbox is not really embezzled, but kind of siphoned money off of other projects to fund, Borderlands 2 for one. So, it's a company that I could definitely see in bed with G2A.
Yeah. I do want to commend them, though. Like, I have some problems with the way that they sort of went through this process, but
Yeah,
I'm glad that they reached out to Total Biscuit and listened to him and then came up with a sort of solution. And then not only did they come up with the solution, they followed through when G2A didn't respond.
Yeah, I do have to commend them on that, and they got a little bit of respect back. Granted, my respect for them, like I said, is very low to begin with, so it's a very low bump on the radar, but it is up a little bit for them. But it sounds a lot sexier than what it actually is, though, but still.
Wink. So the problem that I have with the way that they went about this is that they basically made TB do all of their legwork for them, which, I mean, Total Biscuit has, I don't know how long, it feels like years worth of evidence that he's built up against G2A, and he's been speaking out against them for a long time. So it probably wasn't too much work on his part, but still, it's like they should have done their own research to corroborate with TB's.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that, okay, even if it isn't isn't the developers or that's making the call here, it's the suits, the ones in power, essentially the publishing arm of Gearbox, because I think this is essentially self-published by them. They just did they did the legwork in their development section and essentially self-published it. Even if the publisher portion of Gearbox was the one behind this, do your damn research.
Yeah.
I mean, it would take less than 5 minutes to, on Google, look around and see just the reputation this company has. And you have to have your head far, far, far up your ass to think that this isn't going to cause a blowback.
Yeah.
You have to be very, very, very detached from not just gaming culture, but the internet in general to think that you could get away with this without any ramifications.
Yeah, the days of making backdoor business deals, by and large, are gone. Just because so much stuff winds up online. And big things like this pretty much have to be announced publicly. And you can't hide it. Like, people find this stuff. So, I don't know
this was so removed from internet culture. I would almost think that Nintendo was behind it.
I don't think I would fault you too much for thinking that. So I want to know what you think about TB having this much influence and sort of.
I will say that
power might be the wrong word, but
no, don't get me wrong. I do like Total Biscuit, but it is a little scary that one individual is this powerful in the industry.
Yeah. I mean, I also love TB, and honestly, if anybody's going to have that power, I think he's probably one of the best ones to have it. Yeah, he does
tend to support the consumer. But the thing is that TB has had a few times where he's gone on rants.
Yeah.
And lashed out at people.
Yeah. I think that that's happening less and less, though, as he gets older. Because, I mean, TB is only in his, late 20s or early 30s?
Yeah, thereabouts.
He's talked about that a bit in the last couple of years.
Yeah, even though he looks a lot older. That's the thing. He looks a lot older because he went bald early.
Yeah, that, and I'm sure the cancer treatments haven't helped that, his appearance. But
yeah, true.
You know, he's talked about that at length a couple of times because he doesn't do it very often, but he used to put up little one-off audio stuff on his SoundCloud that would get pushed out to the co-optional podcast feed.
Yeah.
And he's talked about that at length. Like, you know, I used to do all of these things. I'm just as guilty as some of the rest of them, but I hope I've learned my lesson, and I have people to help manage me now whenever I get angry.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that
tell me not to tweet and things like that.
Yeah, here's the thing is that, I realize we're horribly, horribly off topic because we are focusing on Total Biscuit, but this is kind of the thing that I think that the internet is kind of shining a light on individual people almost too much, where you have it where one person, let's Okay. Let's talk a little bit about PewDiePie, where he had the whole controversy around him and was getting hit pieces from essentially, well, now it's old media, but the new media online blogs, because really new media now is Twitch and YouTube, at least for gaming.
Yeah.
And they were just getting hit. He was getting hit pieces from the gaming sites because he fucked up. I'm not supporting him on this because he did fuck up, but at the same time, it's one of those things that he is also has, what is it, he's well over 50 million followers now on, or subscribers on YouTube, and however many he has on Twitch now, because he's doing a Twitch show now weekly. And it's, one person, it's very easy to fuck up because you have to build that team around yourself, and some people just don't do it, like TB didn't for years.
Yeah.
So having that much power on someone that doesn't have the supporting staff around them is very, very dangerous, because it could cause, well, it has caused lynch mobs.
Yeah.
It's also in the show notes where he had to essentially call people back on lynching every person that, or every developer that has any association with G2A, because they are essentially strong-armed into their protection racket.
Yeah. Yeah, he released, I think it was a 15-minute audio.
Yeah, Cool Your Jets, SoundCloud. And I think he also put it on his YouTube YouTube channel. Boy, that almost sounded like spicy there.
He put it on the YouTubes there. It's up on the YouTubes, don't you know? But yeah, he was telling people, like you said, like, hey, stop going after all of these developers. I don't go after these little guys because, they can't put up a fight. And so, it's easier for them to just join the racket and put up with it and get something rather than nothing. And
that's the thing, is that I'm not sure if I entirely agree with that, but I'm not a game developer, so I don't have the full picture there. I don't know, if they didn't do this, that their studio would close down because they wouldn't have the money. I don't know. That's why I'm very leery about it. But the big fish doing this, that's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, where the power lies is with the consumer on this. If people wouldn't fucking use these sites, it wouldn't matter. They would shut down.
Yeah. And hopefully nobody in our audience is breaking the commandment. Thou shalt not use gray market key sites.
Otherwise, we send Jared over to give you a spanking.
Wink.
Unless you were into that sort of thing, then we won't.
Yeah, we'll send Rage.
Yeah, because, I would be so delightful for that.
Absolutely. So, anyways, like I was about to say, Gearbox is not like a massive publisher, developer, but they are, AAA level. This is bound
at least for
to
now.
have some...
I mean, the course Gearbox has been going, I wanted to downgrade them to AA. Because,
yeah, fair enough, but they're still doing all right for now. So,
well, Battle Stillborn.
Yeah, but I mean, almost said Fallout. Borderlands has made them, I'm sure, tons of money.
I still think Borderlands was a fluke for them. I really do.
I mean, it may be, but
because I'm just looking at the rest of Gearbox's list of games, and they haven't done really anything even close to the level of Borderlands.
Yeah. Well, regardless, though, they're still a big company, and this is bound to have a negative impact on G2A. I would be amazed if they didn't start having some serious blowback from other developers that are with them. Maybe not necessarily like the really little indie guys, but sort of any AA's that have got contracts with them, or the larger indie studios that do. Hopefully, well, not Yeah, hopefully they have some negative consequences from this. I would be a little more okay with G2A if they basically did everything that Gearbox had outlined to them, which was, let's see, their shield with like their fraud protection is free instead of a paid subscription service. That would be a pretty big change, anyways. That I would give them a little bit more slack.
That's so funny. Oh, that's hilarious.
But
mostly because they talk about how they can't do that.
Yeah, which is not true. They could, but they make a lot of money off of it.
They make a lot of money off that, and they make it damn near impossible to turn it off. You have to go through over 10 steps to turn it off.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
And on top of everything else, for a short time, and Indie Gala ended up on my shit list for a short time because they were using G2A as essentially to run credit cards. G2A set it up so that if you ran a purchase through them while they were servicing Indie Gala, Shield got turned on.
Oh.
And it was the default thing. And you could turn it off when you were doing the transaction. But it was default on. And the check mark for it was a check mark. You had to click the shield to disable the shield. And it
that's terrible.
And it
that's
didn't.
So
it didn't look like a check mark. It just looked like a standard icon. You know.
That makes me even more upset at G2A than I already am constantly.
Why do you think Indie Gala ended up on my shit list for a while because of it?
Somehow, actually, I had to deal with Shield. I don't know how, but G2A Shield started charging my PayPal account at one point, like last year. And it probably was, I bought a few bundles.
Indie Gala, it has to be.
It must have been, I don't remember, but it got turned on and I noticed like, where is this like $1 and something going every month? Because I didn't notice it for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. And I had to go through this huge process and talk to multiple representatives. And I finally got it turned off. And then I ran all of those charges through PayPal's fraudulent protection and got it all back.
You just learned the spanking from me.
Yeah. It was like $5. You know, like not the end of the world.
It's the principle of the thing.
It was like, I'm going to go through this process. It probably is going to take me longer than like my time would be worth more than $5, but it's just the principle of it. And I got that $5 back.
And more, it's not, it's taking the money from them. That's thing.
Right. Yeah.
It's not so much you're getting your money back, you're taking the money from them.
Yeah. Yeah, but I bought, it must have been Indie Gala, because I bought like a train bundle that they had. That had like Cismired Railroads and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, I think that was about the time, about the timing was when Indie Gala had it.
Yeah, so that must have been.
And that's the thing, is that I can't blame you for that, because I saw people highlighting this and was talking about, okay, well, here's the checkmark to turn it off, and you click the icon of a shield. That's not a standard thing.
Yeah.
It's designed to be completely scummy. It's to trick people into paying this extra $1 a month for a service that they obviously don't need, because they're not using your site. They're using you as a payment processor.
Yep.
I mean, this isn't a tip. Highlight for next.
Is that a segue?
For later. No.
Although that's not our next news topic.
Yeah, we're not doing that for a while.
Actually, no, they are next on the list.
Yeah, but we're not done with this because
So okay, yeah, let's try and get back on topic. What's the next order of business in this whole ordeal that you want to bring up?
G2A accuses Gearbox of defamatory statements. Because then, after Gearbox leaves this entire business deal, the key seller claims that they've already been doing everything Gearbox wants.
Which they haven't.
Oh, let's see if I can find any delicious quotes from here. Okay. I won't do the condescending voice because honestly, this makes me roll my eyes to begin with. It all began with a few negative reactions from some YouTubers, and in particular, John Total Biscuit Bain. I love that they use his full name, by the way.
Yeah.
To an announcement that G2A.com is working together with Gearbox Publishing. Our partner, Gearbox Publishing, unfortunately decided to publicly publish a letter with a list of observations. Yeah, unfortunately. Without consulting us about the truth of the allegations. Oh. This is an excellent example of that rash actions without full knowledge of the facts can be harmful to both the developer and the marketplace, especially since all the requests made of G2A in the ultimatum have in fact long been part of our marketplace. We never talked about what they were requiring.
We didn't, but it looks like in this article, do they list them all?
Well, let's just go back to make sure it's not on that article either. Oh, like I said, this is such a train wreck that it's
on one of these articles.
Yeah, somewhere.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, you found it?
Yeah.
Okay. Since we brought it up, we have to talk about this now.
Yeah, so the first one, before Bulletstorm Steam launch, G2A must make a public commitment to, within 30 days, G2A Shield will be made free instead of a separate paid subscription service.
Yeah, which there's no way that they would have done that. That makes them far, far too much money.
Yeah. The second one, within 90 days...
Yeah, well, I want to talk a little bit about their Shield. Their Shield is essentially their protection racket for keys. You know, if you get a key that is stolen that gets revoked, they'll give you another one. That's pretty much what Shield is, right?
Yeah.
And they set it at such a low price that, it's one of those, well, you didn't notice it for months.
Yeah, I didn't notice it, like I said, for, 3 or 4 months.
It's $1 a month. It's one of those, it's at that impulse price. It's like, of course I want to be protected for $1 a month. Why wouldn't I be? I'm using the site a lot. But It's also one of those prices that if you stop using the site, you forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what G2A Shield is, essentially, is their protection, their fraud protection, which, the fact that their fraud protection is cost you extra money seems scummy to be just on the surface, let alone, the site itself. Anyway, let's see.
Do you want me to read the second one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Within 90 days, G2A will open up a web service or API to certified developers and publishers to search for and flag for immediate removal keys that are found to be fraudulent. This access will be free of charge and will not require payment by the content holders.
Which technically they do, but that's their protection racket.
Yeah. Don't you have to contract with them in order to get that?
Yeah, you have to contract them. And that's the thing is, it's costing the developers money. Which, once again, is where they're trying to, Gearbox is trying to lean on G2A after being called out. That's the thing, is that it's one thing to do it, but it's another thing post facto to try to lean on them. That shouldn't have happened in the first place. Let's be perfectly honest.
No, it shouldn't have. Do you want me to read the third one now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Within 60 days, implement throttling for non-certified developers and publishers at the title, user ID, and account payable levels for fraud flagging process. This is to protect content providers from having large quantities of stolen goods flipped on G2A before they can be flagged.
Once again, it should be in there to begin with. And the thing is that G2A talks a lot about, we obviously look for stolen keys. No, they don't. There's been so many accounts of people having what they confirm is a stolen key. Put it on the site, and it's immediately verified.
Yeah. So, before we go any farther, we may have said this before, I don't remember, but I don't have a problem with a site designed to allow people to resell or, just sell digital copies of games. I think that it's important in order to help users to continue to maintain ownership of their goods, that they have a digital marketplace to trade them.
Well, my biggest problem with it, outside of the stolen goods portion of it, is it will dramatically impact sites like Humble Bundle.
Yeah,
where a lot of bundles for Humble Bundle consolidate their bundles down to one key now because people were selling the excess keys.
Yeah, but I mean, still, yeah, I think people should be allowed to do that.
Yeah,
and a site that actually puts in these proper protections and just makes them part of it. Like, hey, we want this to be as safe and secure a marketplace as possible. If
Humble Bundle had the way of telling G2A, okay, these are charity keys. We don't want these to be resold, and have it part of the transaction that they don't go on another site. Which, granted, yeah, that's not going to happen because there's where there's a will, there's a way. There's always going to be a market for these things.
Yeah,
but this is the big fish. It's the Gearbox problem. It's we're going after Gearbox because they're the big fish dealing with G2A. Well, G2A is the big fish in that rather murky, polluted pool that's the dark side of the games industry, really, or at least on PC.
Yeah, but, if there was a site that had all of the proper protections and everything for it, I'd be all for them. But as far as I know, there isn't one. And G2A is just a dumpster fire.
Well, if I recall correctly, my first time I encountered G2A, or if it's not G2A, it's another key mailer, or not key mailer. Key mailer is a site that I use for review copies. They're a good site.
Mm-hmm.
Another key seller site where they their mascot was a guy in a trench coat, like he's selling watches. They know, or at least the site knew what they were dealing with.
Yeah, what they were doing. Kingwin is the only other big name one that I know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was G2A or Kingwin or someone else, but I remember seeing them. This was a DayZ Battle Royale stream. Before Battle Royale games became the new thing, and every independent game became either a survival game or a Battle Royale game. This was when DayZ was still a mod.
Right.
I saw the ads for this key seller site. It just struck me as so scummy. And obviously it was. I mean, we're sitting here talking about it and talking about that side of the industry.
Yeah. I'm doing a Google search for sites like G2A to see if I can find one that has a guy in a trench coat like a mascot. So far I'm coming up with nothing.
This was probably about this was I don't even want to put a year on it because for one, it makes me feel damn old. And also, since it was the mod version of DayZ, who knows how long ago that could have been. I'm pretty sure DayZ was originally released for alongside Pong at this point, and it's still in development.
I'm not finding one with a trench coat. Oh well,
it was probably custom made for that one stream because it was like an overlay. Whenever they were talking about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, more stipulations?
Yeah, the last one. Within 30 days, G2A restructures its payment system so that customers who wish to buy and sell legitimate keys are given a clear, simple fee structure that is easy to understand and contains no hidden or obfuscated charges. Join the ranks of other major marketplaces.
Oh, that's so cute. And of course, the answer was, well, first, like we said, radio silence, and then let's see if I can find another quote on here, because I am reading this from an article and not their press release, because I don't want to stain my computer with that. Let's see. The problem is that some developers do not want to accept that people resell their games. The developers would rather like to control the market and see all sales channels within, imposing higher prices and prohibiting the resale of unused games. G2A does not agree with this, and we respect the buyers' rights. Buyers who often, unfortunately, believe that the rules set forth by developers follow the law. This is why G2A will not give developers with whom we have not signed the agreement with unlimited access to and the ability to modify our databases. We have to protect every honest seller. Sorry. I thought it was something. By giving them such access to all developers, we would allow for a situation in which a developer could delete every key within our marketplace, regardless of its origin. Such an action would be damaging to the industry, to gamers, and illegal. It's kind of funny that they're talking about legality, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But the thing is that if you were running a legitimate operation, developers wouldn't do that. And I'm sure that you could set up rules that, for, devs can only access keys that are linked to their games. I don't feel like that would be too difficult. I mean, I'm not.
I am going to play devil's advocate on this because I can see a little bit of where they're coming from, because we've talked about how some developers and some publishers are just, they don't get how things are now, especially Japanese ones.
Yeah.
So I could see a little bit where they're coming from, but it's still bullshit.
Yeah.
So that's about as far devil's advocate as I could be on that point. Let's see. By contrast, the G2A Direct program. Let's talk about that. Let's see. We respect our critics and believe that they have the good of the industry at heart. Unfortunately, this is such a condescending tone, isn't it? And I'm not
Indeed.
helping. Unfortunately, sometimes they do not understand how G2A works, and as such, such a misunderstanding causes them to mislead the public about our company. The best proof of this is that the 4 ultimatums formulated in part by John Bain. They don't even use Total Biscuit on that one. He's just John Bain now. Which it turns out were completely unnecessary, as all the issues raised have long been part of G2A's marketplace. Most of the allegations levied against us are based on both lack of knowledge and lack of desire to learn about the other side of the story. The best example of this is quoting false and defamatory statements while ignoring the facts.
Yeah. Oh. G2A.
It's just... It's one of those things that it's mind-boggling. This entire story's happened. That this is a thing.
Yeah, I don't expect like G2A to go away because of this whole incident.
I definitely don't, but I do expect them to have a severe downturn, not because of this, but because of some of the stuff Steam is wanting to do to essentially take a bite out of them. And if some of the stuff that Steam is looking at could be extended to other marketplaces, Humble Bundle has to be the biggest source of legitimate keys from G2A for G2A. If a site like Humble Bundle could use the key mailer system that Steam has been talking about to directly add the games that you buy, then that would be a huge bite to them. A huge buy out of their marketplace.
Yeah.
And Humble Bundle, like I said, it's just the first one that comes to mind. You have Indie Gala, which is essentially the same thing, only they got tainted with that. Oh, shoot. Now I'm blanking on the other ones. But, all these little bundle sites are, just fodder for probably where the majority of the legitimate keys come from.
Yeah. I think I know what would fix this altogether. And it's if Steam and the other major retailers, online retailers like Origin and Uplay and all.
Well,
all
I thought we were
jazz.
talking about major retailers.
Well, like the big sort of GOG as well. Like, you know, the people who have all of the launchers and everything. If they had a system where that you could just sell your game to another member in a marketplace, and for Steam it would be like, you know, they would work it out, but Steam would get, say, 10% of the sale, and then the developer would get 10% of the sale. Then these sites like G2A would cease to exist.
True, but I really don't think that would happen because I don't think we would have the Steam sales anymore. That we wouldn't have such a steep discount. Well, granted, the Steam sales of the past just aren't that they don't exist now, but I think publishers would be a lot more hesitant, and that's why sites like G2A exist. Is that there's just that hesitance of allowing reselling on PC because it's been such a plague on consoles.
Yeah, but in an all digital marketplace, you can guarantee that the developer still gets some of the secondhand sale. I mean, they're not going to get, you know, $15 like if you just bought the game, you know, straight up. But
yeah, true.
You know,
I think GameStop has made publishers gun shy to even consider this because they look at the GameStop problem and see that this is going to happen again. Even though they do get a little bit of a taste of it, they'll think that, okay, we're going to only get, you know, a quarter of the sales that we got before because the day one sales will still be there. They'll get through the game and then resell it. And let's be perfectly honest. The sales on PC are a more long-term thing. You don't have as much as a console for that day one sale. You don't get that huge bump and then that's it. You have what's essentially the long tail. I mean, just let's pick on Skyrim. Skyrim gets in the top sellers how often? Oh wait, it's always there.
Yeah. I think that this would hurt a few developers for sure, but it would disproportionately help most small to mid-level developers because you know, those games don't get the same amount of sales as your Skyrims and your Call of Duties and whatnot, which I guess Call of Duty is a bad example because it doesn't get nowhere near the sales on PC that it does on console, but still.
Call of Duty doesn't even get Call of Duty numbers anymore.
Yeah, fair play, but regardless, like, most developers would benefit from the system. So, and then for the really big devs, like, say, EA, you know, they could allow that on Origin. And then it wouldn't matter. Like, since there's, you know, they don't have to split the money two ways, they could take 20% of every resale. So, I mean, I think that would make all of this go away.
You know what would really make it all go away?
What?
As if they adhered to the commandments to begin with.
Absolutely. If we can make all the devs adhere to the commandments and every gamer in the entire world adhere to the commandments, we'd be fine. We should start our own religion. Get our followers to adhere to the commandments.
Can we have silly hats?
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't have a religion without a silly hat.
Absolutely not. The sillier, the better. The sillier that our hat is, the
sillier
better our
and also the
is.
bigger. Remember, you have to have a large silly hat.
Yeah, I want a Pope hat. But better and bigger.
And of course, since this is a gaming religion, it has to be RGB.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I can live with that. So, are we ready to move on?
I think so. Finally.
Okie dokie.
Oh, what a clusterfuck that was.
It was. It is. The whole topic
is.
Yeah, the whole topic is just a mess.
It's a train
really
wreck. It's a train wreck. There's no way around it.
Yeah. We struggle to stay on topic regularly, but given how messed up and all over the place this one topic is, I think we did pretty good.
Yeah, we did all right. Well, by our standards, at least.
Yeah. Do you need to take a trip to the elevator?
No, do you?
Nah, I'm still good.
What is this going to be? Elevator free show?
I doubt it. I've gotten through all of my water at this point, and I'm halfway through my coffee, so I might make it another topic or two.
Okay, so
speaking of those topics.
Yeah, I was about to say a popular gaming payment processor is dipping into the funds, allegedly. That's the thing, is that I've looked for more information on this topic since I first saw it. We got a tweet from Jim talking about this as well and wanting us to talk about it. I haven't found a damn thing outside of some Reddit posts. So we're going to be invoking another commandment today.
Yeah, trust but verify.
So maybe this is happening. Maybe this isn't. Maybe this is happening to some people. We don't know. And I've looked for this.
Yeah, and when you Google it, what you get is the Reddit post.
Yeah, the Reddit posts. So we'll link to the Reddit post because that's about the only place we can link to in the show notes. Or by we, I mean me.
Yeah, I have to say, though, that saying Xsolla, like, I've never heard of Xsolla before. And I mean, I spend a lot of money on video games in a lot of different ways, and I've never heard of them.
Yeah, supposedly they are, well, they're one of the payment processors for Twitch. So, yeah, they definitely are a well-used payment processor. I'm not sure if I would use the term popular. But yeah, they're used for Smite. They're used for a few other fairly decent sized games. So they're definitely, up there. But this is so scummy. If this is true, that's the thing, is that there is no confirmation on this. Supposedly, there is a percentage of the payment that you send through them they're keeping, and they're calling it a tip. Who would want to tip their payment processor? Do you tip the teller at the bank?
Nope. I mean, sometimes I tell her that she should probably dress better because she looks like a slob, but, you know.
Well, actually, technically, at my bank, sometimes they tip me because they give me a lollipop.
Nice. I don't actually say mean things to the bank teller. I rarely ever go to the bank. I usually just avoid eye contact and try not to talk to them.
Yeah, I haven't gone to the bank in ages, but last time I went to the bank, I did get a lollipop.
Legit.
But yeah, this is one of those things that it's a lot of hearsay, and like I said, I haven't found any confirmation on this. Is there a lot to talk about in this? It's more almost a public service announcement, and especially if you've ran a purchase through Indie as well, since G2A was running for them to check your bills at the end of the month.
Yeah. Well, some of the things that, at least that were in the Reddit post, are corroboratable, I guess, is how you'd say that. They even linked to where it says that they already take 5% of all transactions, which is a bit steep. I believe the sort of average cost, at least with credit card companies, that they take off of the transaction is between 2 and 3%. So 5% is a little bit, but I mean, that's still, well, I mean, they're well within their bounds to charge whatever they want for people to use their service.
Yeah, according to this, there's a couple people saying that Smite has it, Digimon Adventures, which I didn't even realize that was a thing. But then again, I'm not with it with the kids. Has it, and with a picture of proof that if you put a payment through, it adds a tip for Xsolla. Realm of the Mad God and Blackshot has it, but Chronicles of Anuria, which is some MMO, and MechWarrior Online does not have it, and it's had it disabled by publisher complaint. Yeah, the fact that the publishers have to complain is troubling.
So following through this Reddit thread, there's another link that that he goes to. That's another thread where someone's taking a screenshot where it's got this thing that says tips for Xsolla. And again, that's something that without any additional corroboration could just be somebody who faked this image. But there are people in the comments that are saying, yeah, I lost $5 on a transaction once. I lost this or that.
Yeah, this is pretty much just public service. Check your bank accounts, and also don't just click through. Read the transactions, because some of these payment processors are rather scummy.
Yeah. And further digging that I'm doing right now through this Reddit thread, apparently there were a bunch of complaints, and their customer service Reddit account was responding and saying that tips are set to 0% by default, and you can choose to give additional tips to Xsolla, but they're 0 by default. Maybe that's why we haven't seen any news coverage of this. Like, it got handled, and nobody else has made a fuss about it.
Yeah, you have to raise a stink about these things.
Yeah.
I mean, just like a total biscuit.
Yeah. Regardless, PSA, hey, be careful. Check your purchases before you just buy stuff. Sometimes, this will happen. They'll include these fees or whatever, and, just be careful. Don't spend money that you don't have to.
So, moving swiftly along?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so, let's go to Germany.
Yeah. Germany wants to license 24-hour Twitch streamers.
Yeah, which this is going to be a tough topic for us to talk about, mostly because a lot of the source material, as you may expect to be, is in German.
Yeah, so Germany is now requiring Twitch streamers that they have to have a broadcasting license, like someone doing radio or TV broadcasting.
Yeah, the original article about this called it a radio license, which is a little bit of a misnomer, and they call it a broadcasting license. So the German authorities aren't that out of touch.
Yeah.
And the thing is, this law that they're invoking is made for more broadcasters that are streaming online. This was supposedly a decade-old law that is catching a Twitch streamer now because he meets the requirements that were set forth in that law, which falls more under lawmakers not knowing what the hell they're legislating, almost. Especially if this is a decade-old law, or more than a decade-old law.
Yeah, I mean, live streaming didn't really exist a decade ago, did it?
I don't think it did.
YouTube was growing at the time, but...
Well, here's the thing, is that I think I would have to dig in the comments some more, but because that's where a lot of people are translating this stuff. The requirement is 500 viewers, which is nothing for Twitch these days.
No, I mean, if you're a moderately popular Twitch streamer, you'll get that easy. Even I am able to regularly get, 5, 6, 7 viewers, and I'm a nobody.
You're somebody to me.
Oh, I love you too.
Mostly you're the editor-in-chief, so I don't have to do it.
Fair enough.
But also, having a schedule is another thing, supposedly a requirement. And also, the big thing that triggered for this guy was, even though it also hit a second account, which didn't broadcast 24/7, was the 24-hour rotating schedule, essentially. But here's the thing, is that Twitch has the ability to run playlists that is on some accounts, more popular accounts. I know Dallas Valdez has it where if he's not actively streaming, he's running a playlist. And if he was in Germany, he would easily fall under this as well.
Yeah, if you've got 24-hour programming, or 24-hour content, that would count as programming. So, I mean, I think that they're dumb and they need to
And
their
this
legislation needs
license
to catch up, but I can see where they're coming from.
Yeah, I could understand where this is coming from, but the thing is that it's a bad law if it's has such a low setting on it. But then again, this was made a lot for a completely different internet. I mean, let's be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
And the thing is that in order to comply for this, you have to pay for the license, which, if according to the Reddit thread, which is where a lot of this is getting translated, because let's be perfectly honest, there's not a lot of people covering this. And this, once again, could be all bullshit to begin with. So, once again, trust but verify. We're having a lot of that this week, unfortunately. Yeah. The price for this is somewhere in the ballpark. Well, it's about the same euro to dollar. Close enough, at least. $1,000 to $10,000 or euros, which is quite the bite for a Twitch streamer.
Yeah.
I mean, for a very popular one, they could swing it. Just run a donation drive, really. But, yeah, that's a lot. And also the requirement, supposedly, once again, according to some of the Reddit comments that's been translating this, requires a business plan, and you also have to comply with the watershed, possibly.
Oh, that would suck.
Yeah, essentially, the watershed is family-friendly programming up to a certain hour. I think it's 10 o'clock.
It varies by country. And, and sometimes even by regions within countries. Yeah,
I think it's 10 o'clock for Germany, if I recall the comments correctly. I could be completely wrong on that, and I know we have some listeners that could correct that if need be. But can you imagine, getting dinged because you were playing The Witcher on Twitch?
Oh, gosh. No, that would be terrible. So, doing some, 5 minutes of Google searching, it looks like Justin TV launched in 2007. So, streaming was in its infancy in 2007.
Yeah, and I think the law was originally made in 2005. I was just using a decade as a nice round number.
Okay.
Wow. 2007 was a decade ago.
Yeah,
Fuck, I'm old.
Yep. I was still in high school in 2007.
You're not helping. You're not helping one bit. Stop that.
I have a 3-year-old kid. That makes me feel old every day. I had that realization on Saturday. It's like, God, 3 years ago that this creature entered the world, and I've been caring for it for all this time. I'm an old man.
And it still hasn't stopped pooping.
Yeah, it's still alive. I haven't killed it yet, so I'm doing good. I'm doing good at fathering. So.
Well, he hasn't. He's not old enough to complain yet. Well, complain much.
That's not true. He complains all the time. He used to just complain by crying, but now, for the last year, he's had words, and he complains with those a lot.
Also, he is your son.
He's starting to argue as well.
Definitely your son.
I said yes. I said yes. I don't care that you said yes. I'm your father. I said no. You can't watch any more TV. I said no. I don't care that you said no. I'm your father. You need to eat some food that's not covered in cheese. Although when it gets to that point, the battle's already lost. Desperation has set in.
That's when you pry his mouth open with a screwdriver. That
doesn't work. I've tried to force feed him before. It doesn't work. Does that make me a bad parent?
I think that makes you a normal parent.
Yeah. I'm a therapist. I should know better. But damn it, when they push all your buttons, it's just like, you just ate that food yesterday. You don't hate it. You've been eating it for months. Kids
I want chicken nuggets.
Kids are real dumb, y'all. I wish he would eat chicken nuggets. Most normal kids eat chicken nuggets. My kid avoids them like the plague, except every once in a while he'll eat some chicken nuggets.
Have you tried chicken fingers?
Yes, doesn't help. He likes fish sticks, so that's good. But yeah, my kid's not normal. He doesn't like chicken nuggets. He likes French fries, but he doesn't like plain spaghetti. Most kids like plain spaghetti. He doesn't like that. He likes to eat vegetables sometimes.
Oh, he's definitely your son. He's really weird.
He eats fruit all the time.
Yeah, that's pretty normal.
Everything he eats has to be, like, almost everything he eats has to be made of or covered in cheese. Cheetos?
Well,
great.
To be fair, you are cheesy.
Yeah, his, like, favorite food group is Cheetos. Because they're cheesy, and they're crunchy, and they're salty. He loves them. But this isn't... Welcome to the kid portion of the podcast. All you parents out there know what I'm talking about. Is that all we have to say, though, about...
What were we talking about at this point?
We were talking about the Twitch German thing. The last semi-on-topic thing mentioned was I said that Twitch TV, or Justin TV, launched in 2007.
I just hope that the United States government doesn't look at this thing. Hey!
Oh, God. Maybe if we had a more competent government, but Trump is so bad at his job and knows so little about the internet and the world that
nobody knew that the internet could be this complicated.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to Gearbox. Nobody knew that the internet could be this complicated.
Yeah. Also, Trump doesn't like Germany, so anything that they do, he wouldn't want to do because he's, a 3-year-old. It's like, oh, if you're doing this, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it just because you do it.
Yeah, I bet your kid would love Trump. I mean, he's orange, he's cheesy.
Oh, God. Can we feed Trump to my kid? Is that how we get him out of office?
Oh, we've gone completely off the rails.
We have. Let's get back on the rails. Our next news topic.
I do hope that this does get sorted out, but it seems like that the streamer decided to comply, so that kind of sets a precedent.
Well, he's German.
We're going to get... Well, I would
stereotypes.
Say I said we would get somebody tweets and emails about that, but would we? We don't get that many.
Stereotypes and racism. Do. You can write your angry letters to vglpodcast@gmail.com. Include Jared, you're a dumbass, as the subject line. I'll know you're talking to me.
Oh.
All right, let's bring this crazy train back on the rails. Let's go talk about our next news topic,
All
which
aboard.
is Microsoft is to offer refunds on the Xbox and Windows 10 store.
Yeah, this is late breaking as we're recording. We wouldn't have had this if we didn't have that delay. This is pretty much a copy and pasted from Steam, their entire thing, verbatim almost.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's the same rules. No questions asked refunds if it's within 14 days and less than 2 hours of playtime.
Self-service. This is the consumer essentially filling out a form. I think that they could put an intern on the Windows 10 store version of this and be able to cover all the 3, maybe 4 people that's on that service.
Yeah, one intern could do it.
One intern would be bored to death doing that.
I wouldn't mind having that job. Just sit around and browse Reddit all day.
No. Then you would be forced to interact with the Windows 10 store.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we're saying intern, but if I got paid, I'd do it. I'd do just about anything for money.
Oh, my.
Wink. But this is another one of those topics that's more of just like a, hey, here's the thing.
Yeah,
we don't have a ton. I mean, it's good. I think
it's hard to really fault them for it. I will say that I still think that the Steam guidelines are a bit low, but that's particularly because it's just a blanket thing. It's not, well, RPGs. There's no way that you would get through to where you would actually get to even close to the meat of an RPG in 2 hours. But at the same time, you have these little indie titles that 2 hours. Well, that's the entire game.
Yeah.
I just had a thought. I wonder what the refund ratio is for Domina. It has to be high.
Is there a way to check that?
No,
any
there
of the-
isn't.
Okay.
The only way that you could really check it is to see the number of users go down or the number of owners go down on Steam Spy. And that's really only feasible whenever there's something like a blanket refund policy like Arkham Knight had.
Yeah, or No Man's Sky.
Hey, No Man's Sky said no to that. And that's the only reason why you still own that piece of shit.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Sometime I may be able to refund it. But see, I guess just not enough time has passed because I just went to go check Steam Spy just for the hell of it, but the game hasn't been on sale long enough to have enough data.
Yeah, it's very hard to say anything really negative about this outside of just the guidelines seem a little low for a more blanket thing. This also DLC season passes and add-ons and certain apps from the Windows 10 store will not be eligible for refunds as well. Players will have to wait at least a day for after the games or apps release before putting in a request. Well, that seems a little strange. Maybe it's just a thing on the back end to be added to the system. That's probably the only thing that's really of note here. Is
probably
the delay. Also, the fact that they call it apps because that absolutely drives me fucking crazy. Before we recorded, I went downstairs to get some coffee. I came back and Windows was wanting to restart to apply an update. And it was talking about, your device needs to reset. It's not a device, it's a goddamn computer. I'm not running a damn Windows phone here.
Yeah, my laptop updated today, and I got upset about that because it was like, your device needs to restart. And I'm like,
I mean, technically they're correct, but it's the terminology of the thing.
Yeah, although for Xbox, it makes sense because the Xbox does have apps on it.
Well, technically Windows 10 does as well.
Well, they call all of their programs apps, but they're fucking dumb. But the console I think fits that more, so I don't have a problem with them saying apps.
Welcome to the Windows bashing portion of the podcast.
Yep. Actually, I haven't had any problems with Windows 10 in a little while. I'm trying to figure out what it's plotting to do next, but
no. See, I tipped you off whenever I told you it was going to reset.
Yeah, I went and I checked my desktop, and it was like, you have an update, and I was like, I'm just going to update it now before we start recording.
Hey, I'm glad mine decided to do that at an hour beforehand.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I came back and it was at like 2 minutes before scheduled restarts. Like, oh boy, Jared's going to have a field day. Better warn him. Hey, you better be thankful I didn't think it would be funnier if I didn't tell you.
Yeah, that would have been Matt. All right. Well, moving on from that, let's discuss our final news topic, which in my mind is misleading, but this is the title, so we're going to go with it. Fallout 4 VR will be the Mario and Sonic the Hedgehog of virtual reality.
Well, this is AMD's vice president, Roy Taylor, which sounds like about the most generic name next to Smith, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He's talking about how the upcoming Fallout 4 VR title, which is essentially a complete port of Fallout 4 from what I can understand, because trying to get Fallout 4 to run above 60 FPS causes some weird things to happen, supposedly.
Yeah, it's not quite got physics. It's physics bound to the frame rate. I don't understand, but as your frame rate continues to get higher and higher, the physics freak out. So, in some way, the physics are bound to the frame rate, but
I could explain it.
What?
Bethesda game.
Yeah. There's not really a problem until you get up to around 120 FPS. 100 to 120 FPS is when you start to have a problem.
Yeah, the more interesting topic here is how AMD is trying to use a chip manufacturer to have wireless VR, because that's been one of the problems of VR. The other problem is the fact that there hasn't really been a system seller yet. Jim, calm down. We know the Star Trek title. We know. We know.
Actually, I'm really excited for Star Trek Bridge Crew. I have to say.
It looks interesting. The thing is that the problem is the entry price for that, because everyone has to have their VR headset. Yes, I realize it's not everyone has to be all together because it has the internet connection, but still, that's still a hell of an investment to get a crew together.
Yeah. But anyways, so what they're doing is they're working on putting together a wireless VR headset that supposedly will work. Because that's, other than, the games and the entry point and all of that, you've got like what feels like a million billion cables strapped to you when you've got your VR headset on, because there's just so much data that has to be transmitted back and forth.
So
basically
you're two monitors strapped to your head. All the data from your positioning and orientation. And then you have game controllers on top of all that. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. And I mean, there have been people who put together like the backpack system that has all of it in there.
Yeah, the one that looks like the Ninja Turtle.
Yeah. And then
Which was just hilarious. That was Razer, wasn't it? There's been a few of them. The more sleek one, I think, is a Razer one. Then there's one that has... That I do think it's kind of neat how they did the battery system where... assuming that you have someone around you at this point to swap them out. You could swap out the batteries independently. They're hooked up in parallel, and one battery could run the system by itself. So you could swap out the batteries, put them on charge, and not have the system power down, which was a neat way to handle things. Because, battery life on these backpacks is not all that great. Granted, there hasn't really been a VR title that supports long play yet.
Yeah, I've seen another system too on a YouTuber. I might, if I can be bothered, I'll look up the channel and find it. But he rigged up essentially like a big boom arm on his ceiling, and all of the cabling went up to that. So even though there were still cables, they weren't underneath you, so you could walk around pretty freely.
Sort of like a car wash.
Yeah. Working at the car wash.
Oh, God.
Sorry. So, I mean, I think that's pretty cool. I think that having wireless VR is going to be one of the big hurdles to making it more practical for things like room scale. It doesn't really matter if you're just going to sit in your chair and play a seated experience. But
well, let's get back to the topic at hand. What do you think? Do you think Fallout 4 is going to be the system seller?
No. I don't. I mean, I love Fallout 4, and I like the idea of those games eventually coming to VR, and I think they will. But the big problem, I think, is that Fallout 4 is incredibly poorly optimized, and it struggles to run properly on a lot of systems. And sure, you have to have a super high-powered system to run a VR headset anyways, but I feel like it would make it even more, like you'd have to have even more horsepower to run it. And two, I think no one has yet figured out how to make a game like Fallout 4 work without people getting incredibly nauseous. I mean, you could do the whole teleporting thing, which works for a lot of games, but that breaks Fallout 4. That's not, you don't just teleport around everywhere. So,
at least with that attitude.
If they're going for the whole, it's Fallout in VR, then you have to be able to run around and aim your weapon and everything like that. And all of that movement makes people sick. So, I mean, it's ambitious, and I hope it does well, but I don't think it's going to be the Mario or Sonic of VR. Honestly, I don't think any ported title can be. I think it's going to have to be a title built from the ground up for VR in order to get that level of recognition.
Well, supposedly, granted, I don't have first-hand experience with this, and this is far out of my expertise because it's a horror game, but supposedly the Resident Evil 7's VR is pretty well. But that's mostly because they built it around having this focus point. Because one of the ways that you could do fast motion, or really any motion, I should say, in VR, is to essentially have a tunnel effect where you don't have much of your peripheral vision, so it's limiting the amount of really nausea that's generated.
Yeah.
And Resident Evil is able to do this with a flashlight. So you have this bright spotlight that you have, well, your flashlight, and your peripheral vision is darkened, and it supposedly cuts down the nausea quite a bit. And that hasn't been a system seller. That hasn't. I think that's only Sony VR right now. I may be mistaken on that.
I think you can play it in VR on other.
Well, like I said, this is far out of my expertise because I'll be perfectly honest, I don't give a damn about the Resident Evil series.
Yeah, I don't really at this point anymore either. The only thing I care about from Resident Evil are those really awful B movies that they're still making. But that's just because they're so much fun to like go watch and kind of make fun of. So I quit really caring about the Resident Evil series after Resident Evil 5.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I never cared about it to begin with. But I'm trying to give an example of a major game that I'm not sure if it was built from the ground up or if it has it where it just happens to work well with VR. But I haven't heard about it being a huge system seller. But then again, I haven't followed VR all that closely.
I mean, Resident Evil 7 did incredibly well, but I don't know about how
the
well
VR.
It's doing on the VR side.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard good things about it, but, then again, it's from, like, critics and things, which is nice, but that's not a representation of
that's not
how
a sale.
many people...
I mean, look just how many games we've had that been critically received really well, and then just tank sale-wise, or vice versa. That, the fact that it's being praised means jack shit in the end. All it really matters is the sales.
Yep. Okie dokie. Well, do you have more to add, or are you ready to move on?
I think that's about it.
Okie dokie. Well, now is the time for the elevator ride. I'm out of water and coffee, so we'll be right back.
Yeah, I'm about out of water as well, so...
Please enjoy a message from our sponsors.
Wait, we have sponsors?
No, we don't.
Yet.
Yeah, yet. One day we'll be total sellouts.
Well, we can't say we don't have sponsors because we have something to talk about in the community corner up next.
And we are back from our trip downstairs to get some snacks and bevs.
Yeah, I went to the cafeteria.
Yep, went to the cafeteria, went to the lavatory, and now we're back. And we are here for our community corner.
Yeah, but first, before we do the Fonzie, I guess we should thank our new patron.
Yeah, that was the little bit of news that you teased before the elevator music.
Granted, it's not much of a tease, it's just, a few seconds.
Yeah.
But we had a new pledge. A big thank you to, Matt. Because that's the only name that we have for that.
Yep. But Matt, whoever you are out there, thank you very much.
And after this episode, we're sorry.
This one's for you, Matt. It's all for you.
Yeah, a complete train wreck of an episode.
Nah, it's good. It's fun. We haven't had like a really fun twisty turvy one in a while.
Where I get angry for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Because you admit it, you love it when I get the angry pants on.
I do. I like your angry pants.
Yeah, they're quite fashionable on me.
They make your butt look good.
Oh my.
Oh yeah. But yes, once again, thank you, Matt, for loving us and supporting us. We appreciate it.
And we're sorry for this episode.
I'm not sorry.
You're never sorry. That's the thing. You are unapologetic.
Nope. I have no shame.
Well, we covered that, but that's completely opposite of the episode. That's inconsequential.
That could be the title of the episode. I have no shame. Or men's thong. Men's thongs.
Actually, I was thinking something along the lines of kiss and break up with the whole Gearbox thing.
That's a good one. Kiss and break up. But, okay, let's go to our Fonzie now.
Hey!
Hey, here's Kyle with his Fonzie discussion.
Greetings, J. Arthur and Caffeine Rage. This is Kyle coming at you with more shit that makes no sense when you think about it. So today's topic is what I'm going to colloquially call the Death Star problem, but it's really more of a sci-fi games and movies scaling problem in general. So where this gets its name is a problem I've always had with the Star Wars franchise, and that is in Episode 4 when Han and Chewie and Obi-Wan and Luke get tractor beamed into the Death Star, and they manage to overpower the guards, and then basically Obi-Wan goes off and does his own thing and shuts down the shield in a non-obvious way so that the trench run can happen at the end of the movie, spoilers. And then Han and Luke and Chewie go to rescue Princess Leia, and they go down a trash compactor, and then magically end up back at the hangar and get on the ship just in time to watch Obi-Wan die. Now, the reason I have a huge problem with this is because the Death Star is just massive. So you can look this up for yourself, but the Quidanian steel exterior of the Death Star is roughly the same square area as the state of New Jersey, which means that the interior gets more space as you go more and more layers in, kind of like an onion. Now, basically why I have a problem with this is because the secret shield shutoff area is basically right next to the hangar, which is basically right next to the prisoner area, which is also weirdly basically right next to where the emergency access for the trash compactor is. I don't know, it seems like a huge coincidence because the Death Star is, well, too big to support the movie plot points that it needs to, but this is a trend that I've noticed in several different video games as well, primarily Sins of a Solar Empire. So in Sins of a Solar Empire Rebellion, one of the new additions are these massive capital ships called Titans, and they're really big and they're cool, and I was like, oh, that's so cool, you have to do a bunch of research, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff, and you basically need to dedicate a planet to making these things. And then, basically, I just didn't think about it for a long time until I pulled up to help Melanie in a fight that she was having, and my ship was roughly the same size as that planet, and I'm thinking, how big is this ship? So I went and I took a look at the planet and figured out it was roughly the size of our moon. Holy shit, that is a big ship. Now, the Titan I'm referring to is the TEC Loyalist Titan called the Ankleon Titan. Now, to put some perspective on this, the Death Star, which, mind you, has a surface area about the size of New Jersey, is roughly 21 times smaller than this ship, which is where my problems with it start. See, this ship is so big that I'm not even sure how you would resupply it. It's so big that you actually would probably need to take another spaceship to get from one end of it to another in a timely fashion. It's so big that it probably has its own gravity well. But again, it's one of those things that you don't quite realize how much of a problem this is until you compare it to something in the real world. So the closest analog we have here on Earth would be something like a 688 class attack submarine, which takes, let's call it a month to resupply with fuel, with food, with fresh, like filters and other interstitials that make life at sea, well, possible. Now that thing has a volume of roughly 79,218 cubic feet. Now, if we take that month to that cubic foot ratio and scale it up to the Ankleon Titan, holy crap. It would take roughly 813 trillion years to fill this thing with today's technology, not to mention, building it. But okay, let's assume that in the future they're much more quick at, resupplying something. So let's go ahead and divide that by 100. You're still looking at 8 trillion years to basically completely fill this thing. So that leaves two real possibilities. Either, number one, they filled this thing exactly once, and it's basically good to go until the end of the universe, or the end of your empire, depending on which happens first. Sins of a Solar Empire is a pretty unforgiving RTS if the computer decides it wants to gang up on you. Or it actually has all of the things on board that it needs in order to continue having food, oxygen, a fuel supply, that sort of thing. Honestly, both of those strike me as completely plausible, but the sheer scale of this ship means, I don't know, I don't think we would not build it, but at the same time, who needs a warship this big? See, I totally get why game designers do this and why movie writers do this. They want a really big and impressive set piece for either the hero to overcome or to be on your side. But once you start thinking about the actual logistics of this thing existing, even in universe, the whole idea of it kind of starts falling apart basically at the first hurdle of how would you even fund this thing? How would you keep it supplied? How many men are on there? What about their families? This is a long deployment. I don't know. Are there things in games that you play that are basically like way too big that once you start thinking about them, they kind of fall apart? Discuss. This is the kind of shit that makes no sense when you think about it.
And we're back. Thank you, Kyle, very much for another interesting segment there. What is it? Shit that doesn't make sense when you think about it?
Yeah. So how do we want to approach this? Because I actually sat down and thought about this for a while and have to rebuttal once again.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the Death Star specifically first, and then?
Well, I was more picking apart the Titans, specifically because I went looking to just see how big these things are because, yeah, and a lot of people seem to agree with what I was thinking about. That it's essentially a miniatures game where. Think of it as putting miniatures on a battlefield and pushing them around. Things are not to scale. People are wanting to say that these things are several kilometers long, not, several times the size of the moon, or a good portion of the moon.
Which several kilometers long is still pretty big, but not unmanageable.
Well, here's where things get a lot more manageable, because some people started talking about crew sizes. The crew size of the Titans is in the ballpark. Well, it depends on the Titan, of course. Once again, I could be talking complete bullshit. Wait. What do I mean could be? I am talking complete bullshit. But
you could be talking total bollocks right now, but you also might know what you're talking about.
Which would be a first. But people were talking about the crew sizes of these things being in the approximately 5,000 person range.
That's not bad. That's pretty close to a modern aircraft carrier.
Well, to give you a perspective, World War II battleships, Iowa class, for example, was a little under half that. And modern aircraft carriers, as you said, are a pretty good portion of that. And modern aircraft carriers are constantly resupplied by a series of transport ships. I mean, this would be like our Fallout problem lost on scale, because there's only so much that you can render in these games.
Yeah, aircraft carriers, modern aircraft carriers, at least the United States aircraft carriers, have a support fleet that follows them around everywhere, which is fuel and ammunition and then some defensive vessels in case they get, attacked by other naval ships that somehow manage to sneak by or whatever.
Wait, there's other navies?
Yes, a few other countries have navies.
The Spanish Armada with the crescent formation coming in, just sailing in.
Yeah.
They hadn't teched up enough. And Japan is just now discovering the internet. It's like, oh shit, we are completely backwards.
Yeah, the Nimitz-class aircraft carrier, which is the United States' modern carrier, has a crew complement of 3,200.
Well, I just went to battleships because it's a nice analog. And also, I'm arguing crew sizes about two types of ships that really, when you think about it, don't make a lot of logistical sense. Yes, I do agree that these large ships don't make a lot of sense because, battleships are obsolete these days.
Yeah. Actually, I lied. The crew complement's over 5,000. It breaks it down into various types, and I just read the ship's company, which are like the people who run the boat. It doesn't include all the personnel that manage the aircraft and such.
Yeah, that's also another reason why I went with battleship was it's a nice, easy to find number.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there you go. And that really comes down, on the South High portion of things, a lot of automation. I imagine a lot of this would be, just the ship maintaining itself for a lot of it. And it's all engineers, or a good portion of it.
Yeah.
Especially
I mean,
some of the Titans that are essentially supposedly just giant rail guns.
Yeah.
You don't have all the gun loaders. You'll have a couple people managing the essentially the magazine to load in the next round, but you wouldn't have the powder guys. You wouldn't have the packers. Packers, woo!
Yeah, and I mean that's how most sci-fi things get away with it. Although I mean, automation is prevalent in modern military hardware as well.
But it would be a lot more used in a sci-fi area because you don't need nearly as many people. You just need the tech guys and a few people to do the grunt work.
Yeah, the Titans and EVE Online
and also
have large amounts of automation too. Like these ships that are 2, 3, 4 kilometers long, only having a crew complement of 1,000 or so.
And you can also solve another problem with the word droid. Granted, I'm not sure if it works in sense of a solar empire or not, but that's how Star Wars, I imagine, gets away with a lot of the stuff it does.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the Clone Wars TV series, the Separatist fleet is all run by droids. So, I mean, they do have ships that could take on personnel, but they're almost entirely run by droids. So, one, you fill the crew complement that way, and that cuts down on your actual personnel. And two, that cuts down on your actual supplies, because the less mouths you have to feed, the less food and stuff you have to load. So,
supplies!
So yeah, I think that would help immensely. I mean, I couldn't imagine that, in any sci-fi world that there wouldn't be some sort of drones or massive automation, because in order to get there, I mean, the technology would have to be there. And, I want to go back to your first example, Kyle, which was the Death Star. The Death Star utilizes a ton of automation as well. You can go, look it up and read about the canon and the Legends versions of
it. But, here we go.
The Death Star is essentially only manned on the outermost layer of it. And on the inside, aside from the occasional security patrol that has to go check something out, it's either completely empty or everything is run by droids.
And isn't the Death Star essentially also a giant transport?
Yeah. Yeah, the crew complement on the Death Star is enormous.
But it's outside of the super laser, a huge troop transporter.
Pretty much, yeah. And a ship transporter, like it's got massive hangar bays. In the Legend stuff as well, the Death Star had at least one, it might have been 2 space stations that orbited it, and that they pulled inside for hyperspace travel. But those were basically constant, like 24/7 supply docks. That's all they were used for.
Essentially like farms or something for food.
Yeah. Plus, also in the Star Wars universe, in the sort of extended universe, Kyle, I don't know how many of the books and things you've read, but one of the more recent books, the Ahsoka novel, she winds up on a planet where that exclusively grows crops for the Imperial Space Forces, and they're specially genetically modified crops to be more nutritious and things, so that they don't have to ship as many supplies on like Star Destroyers and the Death Star and things like that. So I think that's one of the things that would solve your supply problem as well in any sci-fi universe. I would imagine, I mean, this is speculation and discussion, but this is where you want us to go. I would imagine that any civilization that has advanced enough technology to build a ship as large as a moon, or at least dozens of kilometers or more in length, that they would also be able to have especially genetically modified crops and automation and robotics and so on and so forth to support it.
Or we could just say use the Star Trek version of this: replicators.
Right? Yeah, replicators.
I mean, granted, replicators are kind of cheating, because then it comes down to an energy problem instead of a logistics problem, but still.
Well, I mean, there are actually like food printers, like 3D printers for food.
There's food printers in real life.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, those exist, and so you could have those dispersed on one of these vessels.
But let's be perfectly honest. Would you download a pizza?
I would give it a shot, at least. But, you could do that and just have these dispersion methods, and it's like, I mean, you don't have to give too many choices. It is like a military vessel, but, you could be like, hey, get the burger, or get the pizza, and then, the little food replicator prints you a hot pizza or something like that. So, other sci-fi
yeah, but you better hope that thing isn't malfunctioning, otherwise the pizza is ketchup.
Another sci-fi series of books that I've read, the Ark Royal series. The ships in that have botanical gardens and things like that to grow supplies aboard the ship, as well as, I forget what it's called. I forget specifically what they call it, but it's like an organic recycler that you can just dump organic material into it, and it breaks it down into its component parts, and then they have those, food 3D printers like I was talking about, and you just get like basic rations out of it. It doesn't have like fancy stuff, but if your nice food runs out, you just recycle stuff on
you just
on the
poop
ship.
in the printer and print out a hot dog out of it.
Yeah. Actually, in one of the books in the Ark Royal series, they wind up stranded, and they run into the supply problem, and they're like, I mean, is it cannibalism if we throw bodies in there, like the dead bodies, and it breaks them down and makes them into food? Like, they have this really interesting moral discussion about, like, is it cannibalism or not? Because it's not like we're eating their flesh. They're getting broken down into their organic components, and we reproduced as rations. But really interesting stuff in the Ark Royal series. I highly recommend it to anyone who likes sci-fi novels, because it takes a really realistic approach to space combat and actually takes orbits and things into account, and travel times and all kinds of stuff. It's not like, oh, let's go over here. So it's good.
It's kind of the reason why I like Planetes for my hard sci-fi anime. It's about space garbage men cleaning up space junk, essentially.
Yeah. So, Ark Royal. Good series. Read it. Oh, and the guy who narrates it, if you get the audiobook, he's British. So that's wonderful. So
that means he's evil, right?
Yeah. Actually, They're all British in the book, because I have to talk about Ark Royal for a minute. So in the future, instead of the Earth kind of uniting into one government, instead, old governments and things like that actually all get space travel. So you've got the United States Space Navy, and the British Space Navy, and the Russian Space Navy, and etc. And things happen, but the Ark Royal is a British ship. So the entire crew and everything they're all British. It's got some really interesting takes on a future where we don't unite into a single world government, yet still are able to reach the stars. It's got some good stuff. There's some dystopia in it, as well as a lot of realism. There's also some optimistic stuff as well. It hits a lot of different genres. Good book. And they definitely get better as they go on. The Ark Royal series was one of this author's first outings in writing. And the series gets much better as it goes on. The first book is and the second book is like, wow, this is a huge step up. The third book gets even better. Okay, that's enough of the book portion of the podcast. This is your fault, Kyle. You started this. So yeah, I mean, I do see where you're coming from, Kyle, if you don't have, some sort of technology to help, or
but
if things
also
just get out of control.
Well, also he's thinking that these titans are the size of moons.
Yeah.
Or a portion. I mean, granted, you still have the Death Star problem, which, we didn't really talk about how, everything happens to happen in this one little point on the Death Star as well. And that starts to get into the whole how movies and games are narrated. It's kind of boring to talk about, okay, well, then the heroes spent the next 4 days getting across the Death Star.
Yeah.
Well, no, that could be interesting if told right, but still.
Maybe, but that wouldn't happen anyways, because they, at least for the first portion, because the Death Star had turbo lifts that went horizontally as well as vertically. And it had a shuttle system in it for fast transit, or more like a little subway system, I guess is a better way to say it. A tram.
Mm-hmm.
So when they were blending in, they could have used those various things to get around a lot quicker. But on the way back, when their cover's blown, yeah, that would have probably taken longer. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, you have to have good pacing, and it's poor pacing to spend, 10 minutes kind of making it clear, like, yes, it took us 4 hours to get across the station to this one point.
Certainly Han Solo has a 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah. And the Death Star 2 was so massive, like, there's, in a couple of the novelizations of A New Hope, it makes mention of stormtroopers being on the other side of the Death Star where the rebels weren't attacking, just hanging out in the bars. Like, oh, this is no big deal. Like, it's fine. We couldn't even get over there to help anyways. They'll have it taken care of before.
Boy, were they mistaken.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, on response times and stuff, really only the local forces would be able to respond in a timely manner. Because you got to think, like, well, cops take, if they've got to come from, the other side of a city or a town or whatever, it takes them time to get there. Now, just imagine that they've got to go 40 miles to get around the other side.
Are we including the time it takes them to put down the donut? Or is that just by local police force?
The best cops never put down their donuts.
True.
So, there you go, Kyle. Thanks for an interesting discussion topic. I enjoy these. Kyle's Corner, everybody. That's what I call it in the show notes. Kyle's Corner.
Kyle's Thought Box.
Oh, is it Kyle's Thought Box? Kyle's Corner's way better.
Are we
change it right now? I'm gonna do it with a K. Kyle's Corner.
I was about to say with a K.
Yeah.
Are we gonna change Kyle's name to with the C?
Nah. KK. We need one more K. Kyle's Corner.
Kyle's Cool Corner.
KKK. There you go.
And suddenly we have all the Republicans following us, and I don't know why.
Racism. I'm being racist tonight, guys. I'm so sorry.
No, you're not.
You're right, I'm not. Is that rain? I just randomly started raining outside.
Oh, well, it sounds like someone's displeased with you.
Yeah, looks like God's about to smite me.
Oh, well, that's a smiting.
Let's do the rest of Community Corner. What's next? Question of the week?
Okay, question of the week. I'm not sure if I've done this one before because I don't keep track of these, but nobody complained, so why the hell not? What is your favorite video game movie? We had Uwan, which is a new person for us, I think. The Assassin's Creed movies was surprisingly watchable. My son says any Lego movie. He's 6. Is the Lego movie cheating?
Maybe a little bit. It's all right though.
I didn't watch the Assassin's Creed movie. Assassin's Creed is also a series that I played the first one and was utterly bored, and just never bothered with any of the other ones. Well, I tried the one I got for free, and it just ran poorly on my system because Ubisoft can't optimize a game to save their life.
Yeah.
And their latest ones run poorly on everyone's systems.
Yeah. I haven't seen the Assassin's Creed movie, but I have heard nothing but bad things. So, now I'll watch it.
Well, he said surprisingly watchable, so.
Yeah. I guess that doesn't mean good. Just watchable.
Well, surprisingly. Kyle, Street Fighter. Jean-Claude Van Damme is the best bison ever put to screen. Of course! Jim, Final Fantasy VII, Avid Children. Though the upcoming Tomb Raider movie also looks promising.
I didn't know there was a new Tomb Raider movie.
I didn't either, but Avid Children's also a really good movie. It's probably, one of the better video game movies that I can think of just offhand. And one that I think a lot of people forget about because of the first Final Fantasy movie, which was Final Fantasy in name only, really.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. The first Final Fantasy movie wasn't terrible. It's just, it wasn't a Final Fantasy movie. If they named that movie anything else, so people had different expectations going into it, I think we would still have Squaresoft instead of Square Enix, and which has unreasonably high expectations for all their sales.
Are you talking about the Spirits Within?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. There's been several animated Final Fantasy movies.
I said the first one, which I'm pretty sure
I couldn't remember.
I'm pretty sure that's Spirits Within, but just to make it to clarify, I guess I should say Final Fantasy Spirits Within. Essentially, sci-fi Final Fantasy, which is, I know, not quite outside the realm of possibility, because a lot of the Final Fantasy games are kind of sci-fi, at least in elements, but there was really no magical element of them at all in the movie.
Yeah.
And let's see, and we have Ghost Shark. Dead or Alive was a good video game movie. Didn't take itself too seriously. Great action scenes and a cheesy plot. Ghost Shark, define plot.
Oh. What is your favorite video game movie, Rach?
I think I would have to go with Abbott Children. Just offhand. I can't really think of anything else, and that is a pretty good kind of final cap on the Final Fantasy VII world. Granted, it does have its over-the-top elements, but hearing a one-winged angel with the electric guitar is fucking awesome. What about you?
It's a tough one. I'm a huge fan, like I've said before, of the Resident Evil series of movies. Just because they're so dumb and fun to watch. But I think I'm going to have to go with Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, that's also a really good one, and one that's kind of forgotten because of its sequels.
Yeah, although, oddly enough, Mortal Kombat Annihilation had some really good moments in it that stayed true to the games. As a movie, it's just garbage. It's way worse than the first one. But there are some good moments in Mortal Kombat Annihilation that really, really stayed true to the source material, which is interesting. But the first one is, I mean, if I ever see the first Mortal Kombat movie ever anywhere, like if I'm scrolling through on a streaming service, which it comes to every once in a while, or if I'm ever...
You just yell...
Yeah, or if I'm ever like at my parents' house or something and the TV's on, and because my dad will occasionally watch stuff like that, it's like, oh, leave it there, Mortal Kombat, gotta watch it.
Okay, am I the only one that's hearing the Mortal Kombat theme in his head right now?
I'm hearing it right now as well.
A little scary, but okay. We'll go with that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I could sit and talk about a lot of video game movies, but that's got to be my top, Mortal Kombat.
Okay, and we didn't have a lot of tweets, but we had a couple. Jim tweeted us more footage of the Star Trek Bridge Crew game. It looks really fun, and I think that's probably going to be the closest to a real system seller right now. That's my take on it, is that I do think the Bridge Crew is probably going to be a system seller, but the thing is that it's still a very niche thing.
Yeah.
But I really wish there wasn't the Abrams universe. Just for style purposes, you know? I would love to see if they wanted to do the original Star Trek. The original Star Trek bridge. Granted, they could do it cosmetically. I mean, it is a lot of the same things really going on. So,
yeah, I mean, it can be a DLC or a mod.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be cool. I don't have anything against the new Star Trek, though. I like it.
It's not the Star Trek I'd want.
Yeah, no. It's not my favorite Star Trek, but I do enjoy it. It's got... I don't know. It's hard to put my finger on it. It's just got a certain quality to it that I like. And it might be the fact that it's...
Well, granted, I've only seen a couple of them so far.
Mm-hmm.
But it does have a sense of humor about it that I kind of like. But it feels like it's leaning too much to an action movie for me to associate with Star Trek.
Yeah, they are incredibly action-y movies.
Yeah, and for me, Star Trek, and this is probably the reason why it's the old series of movies that died out, is that there's long stretches where it's the story and the action is the punctuation of that. My favorite Star Trek movie, Wrath of Khan, is a perfect example of that.
I really like Wrath of Khan too. I'm not sure if it's my favorite, but it's
Wrath
up
of
there.
Khan is almost not a Star Trek movie and more of a submarine movie.
Yeah, particularly the
final
combat
battle
at the end. Yeah, the final battle. My favorite Star Trek movie might be Undiscovered Country. That's a good one. I don't like the what is it? Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I hate that movie.
It's too slow paced.
Yeah,
if I recall it correctly. I've only seen it once, and it wasn't memorable for me. They really knocked it out of the park with Khan, though. The Next Generation movies weren't terrible, but they never really stood out either.
Yeah, I really like the Next Generation movies, but I was a Next Generation kid growing up, so
I kind of wish that they continued with the movies, though, because it felt like they were setting up to bring Data back.
Yeah, but I mean,
and
Patrick
supposedly
Stewart's just gotten too old.
Supposedly they did in the comics as well. Bring Data back through his brother.
Yeah. Star Trek Into Darkness, which was the second new Star Trek movie, is they try to emulate parts of Wrath of Khan, but they get that part all wrong. Into Darkness is probably my least favorite of the new Star Treks.
Well, I'm not sure if I've seen Into Darkness. I know I've seen the first one, and I think I've seen bits and pieces of Into Darkness, but I've never sat down and watched the entire thing. Maybe I've only seen the first Star Trek, or of the new reboots. Now that I really think about it.
Star Trek Beyond is by far the best, but that whole movie is just jumping the shark and just owning it. And that's why I love it so much. It's so stupid. So stupid, but it's lovely.
No wonder you love it so much.
Yeah. Like, there's this...
Well, you were talking about how Into Darkness does Khan poorly. What do you mean by that? Because now that I think about it, I don't think I've seen it. I think I've only seen the first Star Trek movie and was kind of put off with how action-oriented it was.
They try to do some of the iconic scenes, like, in the Wrath of Khan, whenever Spock, in the original, goes in to fix whatever it is with
the warp drive, or
fix the warp drive, and he gets killed because of the
well, they can't do that because in this one, because you can't kill off pretty Spock.
Well, they flip-flop that, and they have Kirk do it, but then they completely undo all of the tension and everything, because they just bring him back to life at the end. It's like, oh, hey, actually we found this thing that cures death, so you're fine now.
Well, that's going to make the Federation not care about their red shirts. Oh, wait.
And it has to do with tribbles. So they wrecked that iconic scene.
They found William Shatner's hairpiece. They put it on Kirk, and it brings him back to life. This explains William Shatner.
And then they do have sort of a cat and mouse fight between the Enterprise and another ship, but they do it all wrong. They play it with modern action stuff instead of doing the kind of tactical submarine combat that made it so iconic. And it's just like...
I think the smartest thing that they did with Wrath of Khan, and I realize we are completely off topic, but damn it, I get to talk about Star Trek. And after listening to you guys talk about Star Wars, damn it, it's my Trekkie moment.
No, that's fine. I love Star Trek too, so I'm all aboard.
The smartest thing they did with Wrath of Khan was to cripple both ships early in the movie and never let them fix themselves. So they're very slow, they're very sluggish, especially for Federation ships. And it makes the combat a lot more tactical that you do not see in any other Star Trek movie. In any other Star Trek movie, they would just bounce the graviton particle beam off the main deflector dish. And the fight would be over.
Spread of photon torpedoes. I think they tried to set it up, or at least they make you think in Into Darkness that you're going to set it up, because the Enterprise is like an underdog ship in this fight. And they do a few things that, they're crazy, but they do a few things that seem like, okay, they're trying to be smart, and they're going to try and kind of capture that essence of Wrath of Khan, and then it just turns into like a modern action spaceship battle, and the Enterprise gets exploded again. The Enterprise has been destroyed in every new Star Trek movie, and it gets rebuilt. All 3 movies, the Enterprise just gets fucked up. And in the most recent one, Star Trek... Well, you haven't seen it. Do you care if I spoil anything?
How many lens flares are in it?
Millions.
Okay, don't give a shit.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, in Star Trek Beyond, they blow the Enterprise up in the first 20 minutes of the movie. And then they're without the Enterprise the whole time, or for the rest of the movie.
So, what letter are they on now, or they've gone to the Greek alphabet because they ran out?
I think that they've moved beyond the Greek alphabet. I mean, it's crazy. And the scene though in Star Trek Beyond that lets you know that they just don't give a fuck anymore is that during like the finale of the movie, in like the last 30 minutes, they've got another ship and they're doing stuff and like they're going to take out the bad guy, and the bad guy has like access to what feels like 1 million drone ships. And the ship that they've stolen, they start playing... What's the song that they played? Paranoid? They play like a 90s kind of grunge rock song. And the ship that they've got... The ship that they've got is surfing a wave of explosions. Like, they're playing this song because somehow, through the power of music and Star Trek technobabble, they're using the interference created by loud rock music to overload the drone's receivers and cause them to self-destruct. So the Enterprise is...
There's no sound in space?
The Enterprise is riding a wave of exploding drones while playing grunge metal. And just, like... It's so stupid, but it's so wonderful. And you can tell they just don't care anymore.
I mean, I could accept Star Trek technobabble to a degree, but I think I'm just going to go back and watch Deep Space Nine and forget about the new series of movies.
I'm looking for this on YouTube.
I don't need this in my life.
I that's fine. You don't have to see it. I want to see it again now. I know. I'm the worst. Are you ready to move on?
Not quite, because we only got through one tweet of 4.
Okay.
Let's see, Jim. Jim tweeted us about 3 different things this week, and we talked about 2 of them already. He tweeted us about the payment processor scandal and the Xbox refund system going in. And Kimmis, him and you did a thing.
Yeah.
And that went on your YouTube channel.
Yep.
But you'll be talking about that later, right?
Yeah, I can. It's Sabotage from the Beastie Boys. That's the song that they play. It's stupidly wonderful.
Oh, you're half right. So, speaking of stupidly wonderful, I think we're up to Discovery Queue.
Yep. I'll put that there, and you can go watch it if you want, and if you don't want to, I understand. But yes.
How about no?
Fair enough.
So, stupidly wonderful, the Discovery Queue. Cue the music. And no, Indeed. It better not be the grunge metal.
It won't be. Oh, what is this? Steel Division. Tactical real-time RTS.
Well, I got one. Bayonetta.
Oh. Bayonetta? It got a PC release?
Yes.
Oh my.
2 days ago.
Let me just open up another tab.
It is $20. It's for a PC port. Gearbox, are you fucking paying attention?
This is amazing. I can't wait to play Bayonetta again. On my PC. I'm buying this later. Not tonight. I can't get distracted. But yeah, buying that later.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting Bayonetta to ever see the light of PC, but hey, there you go. Granted, I'll be surprised if we see Bayonetta 2.
Yeah, since it's Nintendo that owns that one.
Yeah. And Nintendo doesn't like giving software to anyone else, especially after that whole CD-op thing. Ooh.
So, Steel Division. This looks interesting. It's a World War II RTS game, which we haven't seen a new one of those in a while. Good-looking graphics. Reminds me very much of Ruse, actually. Reminds me very much of Ruse based on the screenshots and stuff.
Well, I got Planescape Torment Enhanced Edition. This is a re-release of Planescape Torment, a very old CRPG, which I actually never got to play originally. A 50-hour CRPG classic. Single player. Grant, I'm not sure if you would like it because of the camera angle.
Maybe, maybe not.
But well, like I said, Planescape is one of those games that is one of the pinnacles of the CRPG, and it's one of those games I've always meant to go back and play.
Yeah,
and since you've been liking Divinity: Original Sin, I think you should give this a chance at some point. Once again, it's a very cheap re-release at $20, or I guess enhanced edition. Oh, I just got Steel Division on mine. I saw Total Biscuit streaming this. It looks interesting, but at the same time, he was not showing it all that well.
Yeah,
because it wasn't clicking with him.
Yeah, it looks like it'd be right up my alley. So, when did it say the release date was? Because it's not out yet. I don't remember.
I have a visual novel here that actually looks somewhat decent.
Nice.
It's called Nightshade. It doesn't look like it's fan servicey, so that turns you off right away.
Do I have that sounds familiar. Do I have it on my wish list?
I don't see it on your wish list.
Nightshade.
Well, it's Nightshade and then some kanji, so I'm assuming that's Nightshade and then probably kanji for Nightshade, or the Japanese title of it. A romance visual novel game made in collaboration with D3P and Red Entertainment. The romance evolves around ninjas who've lived through the Shinryu period. This game was published in 2016 on the PS Vita. So it's definitely seen a limited release if it was a Vita title, especially in the West.
Ooh, this looks interesting.
Yeah, like I said, it looks interesting. It has a pretty good art style to it.
Yeah, put it on my wish list. This also looks interesting. Low Magic Age. Odd name, but it's a fantasy RPG that focuses on turn-based tactical combat.
A tactical comment.
It looks like it's using a grid-based battle system, and it's got cute little sprite animations and gorgeous artwork that they're showing off from. I guess that's from the menus and stuff, but still, someone put a lot of time and effort into that. Oh shoot! It's $4. I might impulse buy that.
Jared, you have things to do tonight.
Fair enough. Let me get the link. Drop it in.
What is this? This looks interesting. Granted, they have the very first sentence almost made me turn off on this, but because they use the phrase "open world first person." Shooter set in a distant, haunted future world. So open world first person, you know. I assumed that the next words were going to be survival. But signal from Televoria. And there's an umlaut there, so. Oh.
Signal from. There we go. The signal from Dolva. whatever.
Yeah, it's like I said, that umlaut could really throw off the pronunciation. But yeah, this looks really interesting. It's a sci-fi mystery open world game about robots. It has some really nice art style on it. It has sort of a... I'm trying to think of a good way to describe that, really, because it's not cel-shaded, but it still has that color palette.
Yeah.
Has like a muted color palette that makes everything look, almost hand-drawn-ish, you know?
Yeah, it looks... It looks neat. It's... The art style's really inviting to me.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, this isn't normally a game I think that I would buy, but I might go watch some YouTube footage of that and just see.
All the different robots seem like they have some really different designs, at least in the screenshots. And that's one thing that a lot of these games, especially indie games, fall into the trapping of, is where, okay, you have robots, but they all look exactly the same. Especially whenever they're supposed to be, sentient.
Yeah. Here's an interesting one. Steam Hammer. Sandbox RPG with a steampunk setting. Of course, featuring survival elements, but still, steampunk. I'm a sucker for steampunk. I love steampunk. It's early access, available in 2017, so there's not even any real hard information yet. I think I'll put this one on my wish list, though, and keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I'm done with my discovery queue.
Okay, I have one more. I'll drop Steam Hammer in here, and then I'll go see what
You're dropping the hammer.
Dropping the hammer.
Now the question is the hammer your penis?
Yes. Yes, it is. It's always my penis.
That looks really pretty.
Tartarus. Tartarus is an action-adventure game from first-person perspective.
Is it bigger on the inside?
Hey-oh. Combined with text input. Interesting, I think. I mean, just skim through the trailer video.
Prepare to fast forward.
Please don't be a survival game. You're on a spaceship. You're on a spaceship, and it looks like the spaceship is falling apart, so you have to walk around and fix stuff.
Wait. This sounds familiar. Do I own this game?
No. Everything's really dark. Oh,
what was the name of this?
Tartarus. Tartarus.
Okay, I found it. I think I have a game almost exactly like this, only not nearly as pretty.
I'm in two minds about this.
Game.
Some of it looks really good, and some of it looks really terrible. At least there's nothing in here that suggests that it's like a scary game or whatever. I mean, it might be. I'll put it on my wish list so that I can keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I have a game that I got a review copy of that's pretty much this, only not as well refined, it looks like.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any horror elements in it, but, well, I guess technically I can't say that because the survival element of it, where there could be, it has some random events that could happen that could make it so that, okay, your air is running out and you have to fix this leak, otherwise you're gonna die. And it has a psychological horror element in it where the ship is empty and you're moving around on it, and you see all the where everyone's just got up and left, that all the escape pods are gone.
Yeah.
It's the it's not actually the sort of the Red Dwarf thing where you were in suspended animation and nobody thought to about the meat popsicle whenever they abandoned ship, if I recall correctly.
Meat popsicle.
Only you weren't in there as punishment for bringing a cat on board. Now I want to go watch Red Dwarf.
I want to go watch a lot of things. I want to watch Mortal Kombat. I want to watch Star Trek Beyond. Although mostly just for the scene that I watched on YouTube earlier. So, I can just watch that over and over again on YouTube. I also want to watch Rogue One again. Have you watched Rogue One?
Not yet.
Okay. Then I don't say why I want to go watch Rogue One.
I know. I have Rogue One all set up, ready to go. It's just I have other things to do.
Yeah, I understand.
That, and I'm also, I'll be perfectly honest, Rogue One is behind Samurai Jack for me on excitement to watch. And usually Saturday is whatever I sit down to watch things.
Yeah.
And that's Samurai Jack, My Hero Academia Season 2 coming out also on Saturdays. And Doctor Who, guess what? Saturday. And I'm at least going to give the new season a shot. Not sure if I'm going to stick with it because I'll be perfectly honest. I'm not sure if it's me or Doctor Who, but it seems like it's not there anymore. But I do know that well, it's all over the internet, so it's not a spoiler. But supposedly, well, it's not supposedly. It's been confirmed that this is going to be the 12th Doctor's last season. So even if this season doesn't turn out all that well, try it next season with the new Doctor. See if 13 is a lucky number. It's really a sad thing because I really like this Doctor. It's just he doesn't seem to be getting all that good stories.
Yay?
What?
I'm not a Doctor Who person.
I really liked the 10th Doctor.
I don't know who the 10th Doctor was.
Tennant.
Oh, okay. Yeah, David Tennant. He's the only Doctor Who, like, his episodes are the only ones that I can actually stomach. I just don't, and it's not the crappy special effects, like, that's kind of like one of the charms of the show, like the poor special effects. I'm okay with that.
Actually, the special effects have done really good.
I just don't like it. I've never gotten hooked into it.
Well, I think Blink is probably one of his, if not his best episodes, where they introduced the angels.
I don't know if I've ever seen that one.
It's kind of weird. It's a Doctor Who episode that has pretty much none of the Doctor in it.
All right.
He appears in recordings. If that doesn't sound familiar to you, you haven't seen it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound familiar, so I've not seen it.
Okay, that's your homework. I'll watch Rogue One this week. You watch Blink.
Okay. You'll have to send me a text or a tweet or something later, because I'll forget. But I will watch it. I'll make time to watch it.
I just need to sit down and watch Rogue One. And the thing is, I'm set up to render Halo tonight, so I do have an opportunity.
You could watch Rogue One, yeah. But let's move towards the end, speaking of rendering, so that I can get this done.
So
now,
what's going on your channel?
Yeah, so
because this is the portion of the show where you go first.
Yeah, baby. I put up this thing that Kimmis and I did a few weeks ago called Straight as a Pretzel, where that Kimmis and I talk about all the cute boys and what we want to do to all the cute boys. And I won't say any more than that. If that sounds interesting to you, we would love if you went and watched it. It's on my YouTube channel. We were going to put it on the feed originally, but after Rage and I discussed it, we decided that it was
looking back at
from our
and looking back at some of our old content as well, some stuff really shouldn't have been on the feed that ended up going on the feed, and we're going to try to tighten up content a little bit. I know, tighten up content when we had this episode.
Yeah, I'll probably do a little extra hacking this episode and get some good stuff for Franken content, I think. But anyways, yeah, so that's up on my channel. I got my big boy chair put together, so it won't be so bad to sit at my desk now. And I've got a list of things to render and stuff to work on. Should have a decently free weekend, actually, so I guess that won't be on my channel. Well, that'll be on the channel in the coming week after the show. So I intend to actually release a few videos this week. Probably Divinity. Some of the backlog that I have of Divinity. And I've got 1,000,001 projects in my head rolling around. But like I said last week, or maybe the week before, right now is not the time for me to be starting new projects that I may or may not finish. So, I'll put all that together once we get moved. So that's what's coming up on my channel. If you want to watch my stuff, particularly Straight as a Pretzel, you can do so over on my YouTube channel, Gaming Psychologist. If you want to follow me on Twitter, where you can see me tweet about all kinds of things. Tweeted some stuff about my son's birthday over the weekend. Tweeted some political stuff. I tweeted something about food, I think. That might have been last week, though. But anyways, if you want to see those tweets, you can follow me at JMA4707. If you want to watch me stream games on Twitch, haven't been doing much of that here lately, but I did warn everybody when we started this whole house buying process that the streams would probably be the first thing to go whenever I lost time. But when they come back, you can watch me over at twitch.tv/jarthur4707. And if you want to be my friend on Steam, you can send me a friend request. My Steam username is jarthur4707. I accept all friend requests because I think all of you people are lovely, lovely people. Also, Matt, please let me know who you are, because there are some of our members of our audience that I'm a little bit closer to that I only know you by like your Steam username or something like that. So your real name might be Matt. Or if you're just a listener of the podcast who's never participated, drop me a DM on Twitter. Feel free to join in. Yeah, or feel free to join in on our Discord, on DM me on Twitter, or just send a tweet. Or you can be my friend on Steam and chat me up. I'd love to talk to you since you gave us some money.
And if you wish to confuse the ever-loving hell out of Jared, the password for this week is Bongo.
Bongo?
Yes, one of my random words.
Fair enough.
And that's not for just anyone that's joining and adding Jared recently. I want everybody to send him Bongo.
That's fine. I can handle that. There is one thing that I missed, and I was having stream of conscious, so I couldn't really drop back into it.
Uh-oh.
We're running a Star Wars RPG campaign. This past Friday, we all got together and made our characters, or worked on our characters. Ghost Shark, one of our community members, is the one who's leading the game. If you want to participate, there is still time before we get started to jump in from the beginning. And at any point, if you want to join in, we can find a spot for you. I actually recorded the whole thing, and I'm not going to lie, it's pretty boring, but there was a request to record it and release it, so I'll put that up on my YouTube channel in the next week or so. And just have it available for anybody to listen to. That's it. I'm done.
Huh? What?
What's going on for you, Rach?
Oh, well, pretty much standard stuff. I did skip a day of Halo just to try to get back on my standard recording schedule because, yeah, I was getting to the point where I was recording and immediately rendering and producing stuff. And I didn't get a chance to render earlier, so I'm kind of still in that situation for the moment. But I'm not recording and rendering it on the same night, so yeah, it's not nearly as bad. Plus, the only person that's really been watching my Halo content is still behind.
Yeah, I've only seen the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, I figured as much because you've been commenting on them.
Indeed.
But I know that you're the one that really wanted to see me play Halo.
Yep.
And I did have a question in one of my latest episodes. I think I'll go ahead and throw it out here for you to think on. Is that it seems like they're expecting you to know a lot of lore that wasn't available at the time. Am I missing something here?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, Combat Evolved is the first Halo game, right?
Yeah, Combat Evolved was the first Halo anything.
But
there's some references to Marathon in there, the previous Bungie FPS games, but
yeah, it just seems like they're expecting you to know a lot about the Covenant and the war in general against them.
No, they just kind of throw you in.
Maybe it's just I'm expecting to figure out what the hell is going on, and I'll be perfectly honest, I have no idea what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, you don't figure. I mean, you do eventually figure it out. It is part of the story. Like, you figure out what's going on, but it doesn't happen until a little bit later.
Okay, I must not be at that part yet. I'll tell you the sequence I just finished recording. It'll be Monday's episode, if you want me to.
Sure.
The tank.
The tank.
As in the tank I drive.
Oh, okay.
I finished that sequence.
Okay.
And I got very disappointed when I got to this area where it's like, oh, I gotta get out of the tank and go on foot. No.
Yep.
So disappointing.
Wah, wah.
But yeah, that's what's going on there. RimWorld is past 50 episodes now. I have no idea how it survived this long, but it has. I'm nearing the end of my name list. I have no idea what to do with that, and I'm actually to the point where I'm looking to split the colony potentially into two and have an outpost. Kyle showed up and he's fucking useless. Groove is still doing hard labor with all the pigs. Dumb labor. Which is glorious, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah, but like I said, RimWorld, I guess something clicked and I'm doing a lot better. Granted, there's still a lot of stupid things that hasn't cost me the game yet, but that I'm slowly improving and changing around defensive strategies, toying around with a few things. The base is damn hard to crack right now. And I actually had a poison ship. No, it wasn't a poison ship. It was a psychic ship, which is, I know, really makes a big difference. I just obliterated. It was hilarious. Let's just put it this way. With my mod set, mortars are deadly. And let's see what else. Of course, Divinity is started up again, thankfully. I'm hoping that we'll be able to record that again Saturday and keep on it, because I do like keeping that ongoing. But then again, well, you've said it yourself, taking a break from it every so often isn't a bad thing, and maybe we should set up a game that would be a kind of a buffer for, a little bit of random co-op.
Yeah, a new one.
Yeah, try to figure out something. I mean, we could do Rocket League. It can get very frustrating whenever we get people that just have spent a lot more time in it than us.
I talked about Sanctum earlier. We could play Sanctum.
That's true.
I mean, we could give it a shot one time and see how it goes.
Maybe. And the Sunday Sampler. I'm pretty sure I know what's going to go on that, unless this game that got Monday is absolutely terrible. Let's just put it this way. I'm going to tease this one. And should I send this to Jared to let him see what this is, if I can remember the name of it without having to look it up on my list? Let's just put it this way. XCOM-like is what they're calling it.
Well, there's a few games that have done that over the years, but there's one that comes to mind.
Well, this is a recent release, or coming release. I can't remember which. And I'm seeing if I could find it, and I'm not finding it offhand. And the problem is, finding something in my Steam library is a little difficult. No, I think I found it. This looks like it, and it's getting some mixed reviews now, so yeah, that's it. So at least I'll have something to look at. And, well, what the hell, I'll send it to Jared to see what he thinks.
No, thanks.
I don't expect him to giggle like a schoolgirl like he did last time I did this, but... And don't add it to your wish list just yet, so it's not give it away, assuming people actually care.
Huh. I don't think I've seen this game before.
Well, considering it just released recently.
Yeah, and it's not the game that I was thinking of. I can't think of the name of the game I was thinking of, but it was essentially like a remake of, or, a spiritual successor to the original XCOM. But this is
it's not. No, I'm blanking on it. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Xenonauts.
Xenonauts is what I was thinking.
No, it's not Xenonauts.
This is odd.
I'll be talking about it next week at the very least.
Is this a mobile game?
I have no idea.
Incredibly familiar.
I have no idea. I just got a review copy of it, and it's about my best option right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this looks incredibly familiar, and not just because it looks like the modern XCOM.
Yeah, it's been a slow week, review copy-wise. But anyway, that's what's going on my channel. Twitter, I'm posting somewhat randomly over at Gaming with CR. My YouTube is Gaming with Caffeine Rage. And that is, well, really about it. So, intro and outro? Intro and outro is On the Ground by Kevin MacLeod. And yes, I'm doing this completely out of order just to fuck with Jared.
Yep.
And we also have Doobly Doo by Kevin MacLeod as our Discovery Queue theme. And Doobly Doo is amazing when it's sped up, and that's the reason why I used it. If you wish to reach us, you could find us at bglpodcast@gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, and gaming-related topics, or you could tweet them at bglpodcast on Twitter like Jim did this week. Our Patreon, which like we mentioned before, we got a new patron, is patreon.com/BGLpodcast, and it is greatly appreciated that you're paying for this absolute madness. And if you're not following us on our RSS feed or on iTunes or Google Play, which hopefully those are up to date, you can find our RSS feed at bglpodcast.podbeam.com. And that goes doubly so if you're listening to this on YouTube. You don't have to suffer through YouTube for us. We do have an RSS feed. Now you go.
Yeah, there's going to be some music that plays now over my voice. I don't have my usual cue. I'm not prepared.
I just had to fuck with you. I didn't realize it's late. Doubly so.
Bye now.
This is what happens when we don't have a script and I decide to mess with Jared.
Bye.